Russia was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And they'd say, "Oh, but aren't you so glad that you're in America?" I said, "Well, I know a lot of Russian filmmakers. They have a lot more freedom than I have. All they have to do is be careful about criticizing the government."
Good morning to most, good afternoon to others, and good evening to the viewing audience across the pond. My name is Jason Miles, and welcome to another episode of Pop Life here on TIR. I did F up and play the wrong intro, and I was corrected in the chat. Hey, no Pop Life intro? You know, the one Quinn worked so hard on? So there you go. You get both intros. I wish, Conan, that I actually had publishing for both those songs, because as much as it get played, I could actually probably make enough money to pay for you to get a new jacket. And Conan's like, "Fuck a new jacket, just give me some." He's like, "Motherfucking new jacket." But welcome. We're still looking for a name for these. We've gone pretty deep now. We've started with 1993. Then we went to 1979. Then we did 1967. What other year have we done already, Conan? 1984. We did 2 shows for 84. We did kind of the overall year in music in 1984. Then I did a special metal and punk episode in 1984. And here we are with a year. I said 1979. Here we are with a year that is very relevant for Conan and I. It actually is another year on the Conan tells me he has 9 different jackets. Let me bring him in now. He's not going to sit in the green room. Please welcome my partner in these endeavors, Mr. Conan Neutron.
Right, sitting there talking that trash where I can't answer you back. I got 9 of these, and I did have 10, but actually
I wasn't trying to say you don't have any jackets. I was trying to say I'd like to buy you an additional jacket.
Great, yeah. I mean, we talked about those road cases you put amps and cabinets and stuff into, right? We need one just in my wardrobe,
Do you have a wardrobe road case?
Hell no, I would love to have one. Those
are bad. Have you ever seen those?
I know they exist. I've not actually seen them. If someone wanted to do a stealth birthday present or something for me, that would be the coolest thing.
I know a place where you could probably find some, but sadly, you don't live near there anymore.
I was gonna say, is it like Katy Perry's trailer or something? I don't
know. No. At Soundwave, the cases that people would get rid of, all the time, and most people look for speakers and they're looking for old amps or for parts. But Cindy and I would always look for cases. And one year, I shit you not, Conan, Testament threw away all these cases. It was around the time they were reuniting with Alex Skolnick or something.
Sure, yeah.
And so they were cleaning out storage units. And I just remember walking in that kind of middle area where all the storage is. And Skolnick had opened up his unit for the first time in 20 years. And he started pulling out guitars, and he was just looking at them like, I didn't know I had this.
They just been sitting in that room.
Just been sitting in the room. He pulled out this beautiful, a Gibson Flying V. It was just gorgeous. And he was just staring at it, and he goes, I didn't know I had this.
I probably told the story on this show before, but Replicator played in the same room as Testament for a while in that weird space over by the 880. kind of over just south of Lake Merritt and stuff like that. And they had a big
Oh,
sign.
the other one.
The other space, yeah.
Oh,
They had a
oh.
big testament sign that apparently they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna leave that. I don't want to go up and go get it. But it was like a big old, like huge, like wood painted sign that was on there.
That sign, I know exactly the sign you're talking about. It's from the 90s, right?
Yeah, and they were probably just like, I ain't taking that down.
They took it. It was at Soundwave, and it still sits in the last time I was there, it was in the same place.
That's
It's
awesome.
still sitting right there. So Testament, if you remember, had at Soundwave had a room in the back right across from Faith No More's room. And that's where they recorded. I don't know what albums they recorded in that room, but they left. I can't remember the year, maybe 2015, 2016. They just left it like, it's cheaper for us to come here and just rent out the back lot.
That's when you know you've got some money. We're just like, whatever.
We're throwing away money on this.
I
We're just
tripping on it.
There's like guys walking around with walkie-talkies and moving around and stuff. But so they left their room.
Do you have eyes on them? Yes, I have eyes on them. Okay.
Who's got eyes on Chuck Billy?
Exactly.
So when they got rid of that room, they got rid of all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Cindy and I took as many road cases as we could and repurposed them for so much shit.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. That's
so you could get road cases. Someone threw away a road case that was their makeup road case. So the way it opened, you couldn't put an amp head in it, but it was
but it would be perfect if you're looking for something like that. It'd be perfect. That's
for pedals, or if you don't have like a pedal board, or for me it was guitar accessories.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got my pedal board in a road case, but it's like I don't even know what it's at the hell. It's some rack gear thing supposed to be, but it's perfect for me because then I can just like unlatch it, and I don't care about it getting checked because the throwers can try their best, but they ain't gonna be able to do much to it. Although over the years, like there's like one of the latches broken now, the hinge is dented. Like, I mean, like it's definitely taking its toll, but rather that than like the stuff inside, that's always the idea.
Like for those that don't know, if you actually do flyouts or if you do any
like,
overseas touring,
what are these people talking about?
I want to explain what a road case is. A road case is, I'm sure there's enough musicians that watch this show, but it's a heavier case, and you're not going to use a road case if you're playing a local show. And you don't really use a road case if you are your own roadie, because you don't really need one. Yeah. Unless you have a crazy trailer you're towing.
Or a driver that sucks.
Or a driver that sucks that isn't in your band. Like
I don't know this dude.
The necessity for road cases, really, in my opinion, is if you're doing flyouts, because Cindy and I went to the UK, and the first time we went to the UK, they took my guitar. I only had a soft case for it, and the airline goes, "Oh, no problem. We have a special closet for this." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And then when we flew out to Mexico City, I figured the same thing, right? I had a case for my main, my backup had a soft case, and so I go to the airport in Mexico in Juarez, and they're like, and I go, "I'm going to bring this on for the closet inside," and they looked at me, and then the other band we were touring with translate, they're like, "Oh, they don't have a closet inside."
They don't have that. They don't even know what that is, probably.
Some dude grabbed it, Conan, and put some bubble wrap around it, and they threw it in the bottom of the plane.
Dang. Yeah, that's actually could be a whole show in and of itself, because I feel so there is a law, at least in the US, that says that somebody that is bringing a instrument has to be allowed to bring it on board. But for whatever reason, and I know the reason, but they don't have to know that. So depending on who you talk to, you might meet someone that does know that that's a law and that they have to do that. And some people are, because they're told over and over again, no, you are the law. You are Judge Dredd in this airport. Like, you are the law about what gets and gets on. Like, no, you literally, there is a law that says you have to allow this. Now, for me, years and years ago, because I decided this was way too stressful for my ass, I got my aluminum guitar. I have a custom electrical guitar company guitar. It's made of the same things as the airplane. I was like, well, wait a second. These people could try to screw this up. They could try to break this all they want. They won't be able to. I'm just going to check it. So then my life became so much easier when I was like, I'm just going to check this. I ain't going to stress about it. and away you go. But I'm blown away because not everybody that's in my band has the same thing, obviously, right? So it's
Yeah.
like everybody's got to deal with it, and how it's not even just flagrantly avoiding the law or being like a scofflaw at it. It's literally just not knowing. Like, how do you not know the laws that you have to abide by? Like, you have to go through the compliance and stuff to figure this. Like,
You ever ran into a cop there, Conan?
oh my god. All right, fair enough. Discontinuing the line of conversation.
Yeah.
It is important, though. It is important. Like,
No, it is. And again, flight cases, heavy duty road cases, like
Yeah.
this is music. Let's get away
this
from
is people be like, I do not care about this.
Yeah,
All I
let's-
want to
let's-
do is talk about, like, you
all I
know,
want to do is make a complaint. You
all I want to
forgot
do is
my
like
favorite
the people
thing.
are already like, I can't believe you didn't talk about this. Man, we haven't talked about
You're
anything
talking
yet.
about anything. I haven't read the intro yet.
Like,
I love-
just want to talk about Under the Pink by Tori Amos. That's all I want to talk about.
Hey, dude. Someone was complaining on a comment somewhere about the playlist not having a song that was literally on the playlist.
Classic. That is whatever this show is called. I would say that's classic. Insert blank here.
Maybe we
This
should
show.
call it like "fuck the playlist" or something. Like your playlist sucks. I don't want to have it. I want to have a positive kind. I'd like to have a
Yeah.
positive connotation.
Right. No, I agree. It's hard, man. It's hard naming something in this day and age. I'm so glad that all my shit's old as hell, and then I just pick
We're
these
two
arbitrary
Gen
names.
Xers born in the exact same year.
Yeah.
But you graduate in '96, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, 95.
Oh, we're graduating the same year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I swear we were having a conversation on tour once, and you lied. Maybe Tony graduated in '96.
Yeah. Tony's like you're younger, so
I'm sorry that I confused two very different white men.
I know we all look the
Extremely
same.
different.
So
Different parts of the country they're from.
Yeah.
One has an accent, the other doesn't.
other than a predilection for riffs and music gear, I don't know. I think that's
That was maybe the most racist thing that I've said today. I'll try to keep it at a minimum for confusing you with an entirely different man. I'm sorry, Tony.
It doesn't happen very often.
It shouldn't. There's nothing. I don't even think you guys are the same height.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we're a pretty, unique individual, for better or
Very.
for worse.
Yeah. But today, Conan and I will return to the 90s, 1994 to be exact, our
Yes.
junior years of high school. 1994 was an influential year on us musically. Outkast released their debut album. Kurt Cobain dies right as the genre he helps to usher into the mainstream shoots into the stratosphere of arena rock. At the same time, Green Day releases their debut, which will take punk music from unwanted fringe to pop stardom. 1994 is also a year for some that are seeing the sunset on the golden age of hip hop. With the rise of Biggie Smalls, hip hop is headed to the club where it still resides. Nas released his classic debut record Illmatic in 1994. He will follow it up just a few years later with It Was Written, a massive departure from his boom bap roots, and take a step into the direction of mainstream radio playability and success. Trip hop is born with the success of Portishead and Massive Attack, just to name a few. Metal gets a new lease on life in 94, as it marks the beginning of a short-lived genre, nu metal, and we can definitely get more into that on this show. Also, as usual, the phone lines will be open so we can hear you guys sound off on the question: is 1994 the greatest year of music? Conan,
It's
for you, because we
Yeah.
grow up in the same state but in slightly different areas. You're about 2 hours away from me,
Right. Slightly different, vaguely hick-ass areas. Yeah.
but you're just 2 hours away.
And a world apart.
For you, can you provide an overview of what the musical landscape of 94 looked like for you? Junior
Sure.
year, Conan. Do you have long hair?
No, I've never had long hair. I don't look good with it. Like, I've actually tried a couple times. Like, I get to about mid-length and I'm like, this
You
ain't
just look like a lesbian.
this ain't like a bad one. Yeah, not even an attractive one. And I did have blue hair for a while. Like, I dyed my hair blue before, like, you know, like now I feel like that's come to mean like, oh, you go to anime conventions or something. But like, but at the time it was a way of expressing rebellion. You know, whatever. Take of that what you will. Almost all my high school pictures, like the yearbook and stuff, are all black and white too, which is kind of like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's same for me. Only seniors in my high school got color photos.
Right, and that's the one where like I had like just the blondest. I just look like a nice. Oh, what a nice young man.
Do you
like,
have a picture? Conan Neutron. Here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
94 was the year I had my first ever show in front of people.
Oh wow.
Do you have any pictures of your?
You were ahead of me. I didn't play my first show until. Ooh boy, I want to say 98, maybe 99. Like I was starting to play. I was starting to play, but it wasn't any damn good. Not that any didn't stop anybody. But we had a band that we called The Worst. And we were real busy working out like discographies and logos and all this stuff. And yeah, we would play music, but for whatever reason, we never really played a show. So I didn't play a show until I got up to Oakland. And there was a couple shows. There's a pre-replicator band called Phalanx that, which would be like Failing.
That's a good name. It's a good name.
Failing. What the band's called? Failing? No, it's called Phalanx. Because remember, you got to book stuff on the phone, right? You got to tell.
Ooh, yeah.
And you had to tell the man. Always man.
You had to have
what you sounded like. Oh, did you get the thing? Yeah, I did. I didn't listen to it though. Just tell me what you sound like. Oh my god, hell, absolute hell. Kids got no idea how easy it is now. But that was a few years later.
Don't. Have you ever tried to try out?
Oh my god,
I've had to try out. Oh, dude,
rough. So, and that was only that band only lasted a few shows before it kind of morphed into Replicator, which I was in for like 10 years. So it's like I don't have a lot of like, oh, here's these cornball bands that did these things. I do, but it wasn't in public, so therefore, and it certainly wasn't in the YouTube era. I will say, answering the actual intent of the question, 94, I was into music, right? So I've been like, and not into music like my parents' music, which is all like classic rock and good stuff, you know, like Beatles and Sabbath and like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Led Zeppelin and the likes. Even like AC/DC and even like, you know, Billy Idol and stuff like that. Like I grew up with music around the house, but it wasn't until I heard Nirvana, Nevermind, that I was like, oh, this is like for me. And then I immediately sought out all the stuff that they were like friends with and they were common cause with, you know, Butthole Surfers, Sonic Youth, Melvins, so on and so on. And just that started my boulder rolling down the hill of music fandom. So, and I say this because some of the records that came out in 94, I was already like an avid fan of. So when you have something like, you know, the MTV Unplugged by Nirvana came out, or Super Unknown by Soundgarden came out. Downward Spiral. I remember I listened to Downward Spiral the first day, got that CD the first day, and I was like, oh, I heard Closer. I was like, well, this one's never going to be on the radio. Ha 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 ha. Because he says, I want to fuck you like an animal like 70,000 times. Yeah. I know. I was so wrong because I thought Pretty Hate Machine was great, but Broken I was like, hell yeah, this is what's up here. This is real shit. And I was like, that when Downward Spiral came out, I was like, oh, cool. You know, I dig this. Right on. And but I was wrong about it, like almost all of that. But like I was already kind of listening to like the early Beck stuff, right? For instance. And I was already listening to Meat Puppets, Beastie Boys, like a lot of things that it would be about a year and a half later where I worked at a record store that my musical boundaries really kicked open by just knowing like, oh my God, there's like really great like hip hop. There's like really great like country music. There's really great electronic. Like I had my world change there, but I was starting to get there around this year. I wasn't cool enough to know like Guided by Voices or Arch of Loaf or anything like that, but I was well aware of the fact that like, hey, and you got to remember too, there's also like Pink Floyd put out a record in 94.
They did, and it's not very good.
It's not good. So that was the thing of like, oh, that's
I had to listen to it. I had to listen to it and make it a playlist.
Yeah, it's not great. And REM, They did Monster, which was fine, right? But it was sort of like as people knew REM, it wasn't really the what you think of when you think of REM. So like near the back part of that year is after I'd moved to Oakland and started working at a record store. So my knowledge and my interest, my voracious interest as a music fan ramped up. But I was exposed to a lot of the pop stuff. Like I mentioned the Tori Amos record, right?
Mhm.
Huge. When that record came out, I worked at the record store. That record, oh my God, like so many lovely young ladies with their poetry books showed up to buy that shit. Like it was all the time. Like Tori Amos, yeah. And like you could kind of eyeball, all right, who's here for The Offspring? Who's here to buy Tori Amos? You know, who's here? You could just kind of tell by their look and their general feel. People may revise history. The first Korn record came out that year. Nobody cared about Korn. Nobody. Not at all.
It took a minute.
Mm-hmm. Nobody. Like I heard it, and I actually first time I heard it, I like kind of laughed. And someone's like, "Oh, this band's from Bakersfield." I'm like, "Yeah, that tracks."
Do you know what their name was originally?
I don't.
LAPD.
Wow.
Love and Peace, dude. That was their original name. I'm being totally serious. I wish I could make that up.
You know what else came out this year that made exactly zero splash at the fourth coolest record store out of 4 in Berkeley was Welcome to Sky Valley by Caius. I did not know from any of the desert stuff at all.
Nobody really was up on that. What's really funny is also too, I think this is an era where A&Rs can still go out and find music and like music. I was watching after I got done with the show on Thursday night, for no good reason whatsoever. I went down a rabbit hole because I'm waiting for this thing to download, right? And a video pops up on the YouTube feed that says why all these people hate Eddie Trunk. You know who Eddie Trunk is?
Yeah,
radio DJ. Yeah. Really into like classic metal and stuff. And that led me to all these other videos about bands that I just weren't really on my radar. I wouldn't say I hate them; they're just not on my radar. Like Lit.
Lit. Oh my God.
And they're telling the story of Lit.
Oh God.
And I'm like, okay, well, because they own a really cool club in Irvine. I can't remember the name of it. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know anything about Lit, so no.
No, this club though. It's like the place to play in Irvine. Yeah. It's like the spot to play.
I don't know.
Anyway, those dudes are like trying to do the metal thing. It doesn't really work for them. Trying to do like the Faith No More metal thing. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then they kind of adapt their sound to a rockier version of what's going on with Swingers.
Is that what that band sounds like? Oh man, that's
right. Because remember they had that song "My Own Worst Enemy."
Yeah, I vaguely remember. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when they get signed, they just live in Orange County, which is the county south of Los Angeles County. From Irvine to Hollywood is what? Maybe an hour with traffic.
But it's a world apart. Yeah.
But it is. It's a world apart. So they were playing shows in LA to like 4 people.
Yeah.
And they had a manager, which I find hilarious, right? So anyway, they're playing a show at the Viper Room. Have you ever played the Viper Room?
No, I know it well, but I have not played there. Yeah.
Okay. So they're playing it's tiny as hell. Viper Room is super tiny.
Big.
So they're playing the Viper Room. Apparently 4 people are there. Their manager is one of them. And another person is like an A&R from a major label.
I feel like I've heard so many of those stories, and it seems like, I don't know, like it's like really, and I've been in situations myself where that kind of stuff has happened, but it's like, but nothing happens from it, like,
because we're too young.
Yeah, I guess so. We just missed that.
We just missed that thing where it's like, oh, the kid with the jacket's got pizzazz.
This kid's going places.
Let's give this guy a deal and
sign him quick.
You like cocaine? You like whores?
Exactly.
Well, I'm married. We didn't ask you that, kid.
That's not what I asked you, kid. No,
I asked you about the hookers. But anyway, and then they become a thing, and you're like, this is interesting because this era is so gone.
Oh yeah, and it was gone like practically overnight, right? Like it was just there, and it wasn't.
And it wasn't because the 99 is like the end of people buying records.
Yeah.
or it starts to become the end of people buying records. Kind of like 94 to me. When I think about the musical landscape of 1994, there is a somberness to it because I don't know if you agree, and maybe this is just me trying to overly historicize the time as I am writing about this year currently. It's a very important year to me because it's not just music. This is also the year that starts big time financial deregulation that enables people to have easy access to credit, that enables home prices to skyrocket in value, that enables people to move out and build out suburbs. And there is a lot of music that is made for the suburbs. And I think 94 for me is kind of a big year, just like in my pamphlet, 84 is a big year. Right.
We're deep in the Clinton era. I'm a new kind of Democrat. I'm really pro business and like so on and so on. And
but this is but the business is gonna liberate you. So the same thing that Reagan was saying,
right? That
different guy saying it.
No, we're for it because we somehow believe in some recloaked version of like trickle down economics or something. Yeah, absolutely. No, I remember well.
And when Cobain dies, which I find interesting about grunge. And I don't know if you feel this same way. I think we've talked about this. I think we've even talked about this with Toshi in the room. That it's just a renaming of punk music because punk music isn't a viable genre with that moniker.
Because and there's so much associated with it that has to do with other time periods, and it wasn't a term that was meant for that. I mean, already post punk had already like come and gone as well, punk and post punk, and it's interesting because for 91 was like, okay, everybody wanted their own Nirvana. So they let the freaks in for like a short window of time. I always talk about this in Controversial, where there's a time period that they were like, we don't understand what these kids are into. So we will literally try anything. Because if
you had a baggy sweater that looked like something Freddy Krueger threw out, because he was like, I don't like the colors.
Yeah.
You got a deal.
Great. Here's your advance, give us a hit. And that lasted for a couple years. And then you got some really genre.
This is the year though. Would you say this is the year? I don't know what to call these bands because this for me too is a year where punk music. Because I think what you do is some sort of, I don't want to say derivative, but it's off of the same line. As what was happening in 94. And I don't want to call it post grunge. I think that's insulting.
No, it's not. So let's pause that for a second. I was just going to say that like you had a couple years where they would let the freaks in, right? Then they began to realize, oh, we can just kind of manufacture our own bands that kind of sound like this. And then they're like, oh, well, so we're so far afield from this that we can actually just push this a different direction entirely. And for me, I've always looked at it from like what interested me about that kind of music wasn't the trappings of like the fashion or whatever, or just the, like, even just the like, fuck you, dad, like aspect of it. It was like, oh, this is interesting. This is rock music, which again, you have to understand that like at 15 or whatever, I've been exposed to rock music my entire life. But I was like, oh, this sounds like now. This is done in a way that's taking sounds from like the bands that I love that are punk bands, but also applying it as these rock bands did. So if you wanted to talk about like what I do, like with Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, it's the same sort of thing. It's like rock music. So rock music is become shorthand for throwback music. And that's not what I'm doing at all.
Yeah.
But I'm taking stuff that, again, if you think about from as a historical period, the 90s were not like last year, people.
We're getting into the Marty McFly machine right now.
Some 30 years ago.
This is the Marty McFly machine. And another thing I want to talk about, and we're going to get this down.
I was going to say, and so taking that with like the rest of rock history and be like, okay, well, what's a way to like take all of these things that are interesting and unique, and in a songwriting perspective, present it in a way that comes off as something new. And that is what I'm trying to do. So when people are like, oh, the grunge music, it's like fucking grunge music. Like, get out of here. First of all, that was a corporate term applied to the punk of the day, which at a while it was like, hey, we don't want to sound like, Winger or whatever. So we're going to buy these like pawn shop amps, and we're not going to bother doing up our hair and wearing
Well, not all of them.
this stage attire, sure, but I'm talking about something that's embodying a stereotype. So we have to talk about what embodies a stereotype, not what doesn't embody
What
the
the
stereotype.
facts on the ground are.
Right. So it's they're just doing loud guitar music that's informed from like, hey, this Nuggets compilation is kind of kick ass. It's kind of just as cool as like the Sex Pistols or Flipper or whatever, and then a bunch of people are like, oh, it's called grunge. It's like, well, no, nobody's like, hey, let's start a grunge band ever. Like, I'm thinking of that Mudhoney video for Suck Me Dry, where like someone's whole bit science says grunge out. It's like, that's perfect. Because they knew, obviously they're like a bunch of smartasses. But then that even, around this year is sort of right when that kind of stopped too. And then it started to turn to that Jarl music, like that beget like Creed and all that horrific stuff.
Yeah, 97.
And new metal, kind of came in and it took all the aggression, but made it just like, directed at nothing. and
you could say the same thing about the music that it's biting from.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, it definitely. I mean, this but let's be clear. New metal's mall music, right? Like you talk about it a little bit with like this is sort of the start of that, and then it kind of became like no, it became even more of a packaged product. And that became something that was almost like a reaction to the reaction, but it was embodying of the times, whether you enjoy it or not. I don't like new metal at all, personally. I can't stand it. But that said, I see where it came from, and I see where kids who heard it would be like, "Oh, this is music of the now. This is music for me." And what's interesting to me, and then we can move on from this. Younger bands, even like a little bit younger, like my friends in Chat Pile, they don't look at it with that way. They don't have that cultural context. So, they're looking at like they like that first Korn album's good. I'm like, is it though?
But you know what I'll say about
but they don't
people?
have that cultural aspect.
You know why
right?
though?
So,
because they didn't grow up with the stories that were extremely racist about.
well, you hear there's this horrible sexist stuff happening. There's this horrible racist stuff. Like they didn't have any of that. They just were engaging with the music on its own face.
But new metal, let's be honest, it's breaking a lot of that. There's a lot of women in it. There's a lot of people of color in it. It's mixing aggressive music that's still popular at the time. It's officially arena music, so it's everywhere for these kids, right? Now they have mandatory Metallica in 94. Right. We didn't have that. Metallica was fringe music when we were coming up. If you listen to Metallica, you were an outcast kid.
Pre-Black Album,
pre-Black Album, pre-Black Album heavy metal.
Yeah.
And 1994 is different worlds, and heavy metal starting to become a cliche word. This is where bands like Megadeth are thinking like, oh, maybe we should change our name.
Right, because we're far afield from even Ozzy with like, no more tears and stuff. Like, it's like different.
Or a ballad now.
Yeah.
The aggression is pretty much
not
gone.
even Crazy Train anymore. It's like the Crazy Train done left the station at that point.
All those bands, a lot of their aggression that they have in their earlier works, like if you go to 86, if you talk about just metal, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax all release their classic records, right? Master of Puppets, Among the Living, South of Heaven, and Peace Sells But Who's Buying. That's 86 from the top.
Yeah.
Big year. Even MTV does a whole special. There's this new thing called speed metal. By 1994, just 8 years later, they're all making radio-friendly songs with very predictable verse, chorus, formulaic patterns. No more 8-minute, 7-minute opuses. They're releasing actual singles now.
Yeah.
With the exception of Slayer, right? Slayer's like AC/DC. You're going to get the same record.
Slayer's always going to sound like Slayer. Exactly.
for our whole time. And I think there are young people from the new metal world that grew up with those Metallica records and then Pantera.
Sure. Yeah,
and they also grew up digging later rap, especially the quote unquote gangster stuff. It wasn't taboo to them.
Well, and also Faith No More, right? I mean, like what has Mike Patton Roth, like,
is it Faith No More? Is it more Beastie Boys and Anthrax?
I think
it could be both.
Faith No More. Faith No More is huge. Like, and again, it's not just any one thing, right?
No, yeah, I agree.
But all you said about all the nice things you said about new metal, I didn't see or hear any of that. All I saw was a bunch of directionless rage by the same assholes that would pick on the weird kids.
But that's how I feel about all the stuff that you dig.
Okay,
right?
Well, I guess it depends on who you're talking to.
It sounds like fuck you, mom and dad shit. To
Yeah,
me,
that is exactly what new metal is, and nothing more than that. As far
but
as
that
I'm
sounds
concerned.
like the same shit. It's like, a lot of this shit is
Well,
fuck you,
that's a
mom and
lot.
dad.
That's youth music, right? There's a fuck you,
A
mom
lot
and
of this
dad.
shit is fuck you, mom and dad.
Then it
There's a
turned into
pretension.
whining
Can
about
we
fuck
admit
you,
though?
mom and dad.
Can we admit though that
We
there
all
is a
agree on that.
pretension?
Yeah.
There's a pretension to the, I don't want to call them post grunge. Let's call them post grunge. The bands that you talked about that get signed in between like 94 to 98.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that actually went to college.
Yeah, right.
All those college guys that got signed. All the people that got played on MTV 120 minutes. There was a pretension with these cats. And it's very alienating. Whether or not you want to admit it, as somebody that was there, I'm like, nah.
Well, that was like
These guys
Pavement's whole
feel
deal,
arrogant.
right? I mean, like Pavement, like even though they were from the next town over from me, I would not engage with pavement of any kind. So like, oh, that's just, like whatever. Those are annoying guys. I don't care about that. And then I actually like listened to them. I was like, oh, actually, a lot of this is pretty good. And then I saw him live. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is cool. And Scott Camberg was always around, like at these same shows that I was playing with like 20 people and whatever. I was like, oh, this guy seems like actually pretty awesome. And then I was like, oh no, their crowd's annoying. Their crowd are really annoying. But this is a band that like, yeah, like there's a lot of things that put me off on Pavement. Like they add to the slacker attitude, of which I was like, to say that. So first of all, one cannot overestimate.
Slacker. You brought me back, brother.
Yeah, the boomer culture of
man.
just being like, oh, there's so much of slackers, this and that.
Can you just briefly explain to people why we were called slackers?
Because they wanted to diminish us and make us feel terrible because, like, okay, you could sum it up with, if you ever listen to Whedon's Start the Fire by Billy Joel, which is basically a litany of grievances about how Generation X, all young people, but at this point it was Generation X, like needs to like wise up and realize how important the boomers are, right? We were told from the beginning that oh, you don't do anything, you don't engage earnestly with anything, and you don't matter. And we were kept away from the levers of power, still are, by the way, by the same generation. But people don't understand what Generation X even is. And you and I are both on the tail end of that. We're like more Oregon Trail generation. but the idea of like, no, you can't hurt us. we've never had engagement earnestly of any kind other than what we've created ourselves. We create our own systems. We have to. We raised ourselves. We were kept away from any kind of the levers of power or control, and we had to create our own systems. So I don't even understand how millennials. I'm like, oh, this, why don't you just go do this and like make this better? What? Like they don't even get it because they've grown up with these walled gardens of like, well, this is how you express yourself. It's on these platforms in this manner. And if they just change the rules on you and make it terrible to deal with, then that's just the way it is. No, it isn't. That is the way it is at all. Because that's so against, like, we're the opposite of the actual slacker generation. But the problem is they wanted earnest engagement. Boomers wanted to be told how good they were. Oh, you did so much good. Yes, we agree. You're so great. You're better than us. And nobody thought that. And they were mad. And they were mad about it. And that's what it comes down to. And so that's why, like, and whether you're talking about, less so like new metal and stuff in the late 90s stuff, early 90s stuff was definitely like, no, this is a statement of intent of what we actually engage with and what we actually think and believe and are creating. And it is different than what has came before. And part of that also has to do with like just how weak a lot of that hair metal stuff had gotten. Like just like copy of a copy of a copy. Anything that was bringing stuff forward that was worthwhile at that point was flat out.
Is that anything that happens that's
store
successful?
brand?
But yeah, I
store brand cheese.
I have to agree with you wholeheartedly on that. But is that anything that blows up, especially in this era again of A&Rs going out and finding bands, and people see what's so for example, grunge. No one moved to Seattle before 1991 to make it in the business.
No, of course not. You kidding
right?
me? No.
That's the dumbest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Post Nirvana, I'm sure you've met people that moved to Seattle to try to get it.
Because they're like, oh, people like music here. And
yeah.
Absolutely. And then that, there was other, for a while, there's other cities that have like had that happen in the past where, people felt that way about Chicago for a little while. Down in Georgia, like
Yeah.
there's definitely like flashpoints where people like, oh, it's because it's stuff happening here, and it usually isn't. Frankly, it's usually just a coincidence that like, oh, these interesting bands all came from here. And some of my favorite music is just almost from nowhere. Like what's like Portishead, right? Portishead's a great example. And let's get back on track with the talking about records. Dummy comes out this year, right? And think about the landscape that it comes out in. And it's, there was enough of them that they called it. They came up with a genre for that. They called it trip hop.
I'm a fanboy. I'm a huge
I
fan
love it. Yeah,
of that genre. Cindy and I got to record where Portishead did Dummy in Bath, and I was coming all over the place, dude. It was nuts. I fucking what is
was that the condenser mic that they used? No, but there was nothing that sounded like that when it came out. And of course, the Sour Times was like the hit. That was
Bristol sound I've been trying to achieve for 30 years now, still failing.
Yeah. And in the failing, you make something interesting on the sound. But that was again, when you talk about all these genres coming together and innovating, right? That was a good example of like taking a couple things that put together, because you can't overestimate it's weirdly been kind of written out, except for you're like electronic music nerd, that there was some crazy stuff with electronic music.
Crazy stuff. Like
insane, like it was almost like you could make the case at that moment in time that there was almost like a parallel musical revolution going with electronic music. And I would include, even though it's not strictly electronic music, I would include Downward Spiral in that, which came out this year, because that was huge. And again, we're still like a few years away from a lot of the Aphex Twin stuff, right?
I put Aphex. He has a record on here.
Is that 95? As I care because you do, I think is the 95.
That's one. But when does I want?
Oh,
when is that? It's like 98 or something.
Yeah, that's
and also
97, I think.
Dillinger's cover of that. With
my God,
was amazing.
Yeah, I heartily agree.
Amazing. Go listen to Aphex Twin, and then
turn this off. Listen to Come to Daddy.
Go listen to Dillinger's cover with Mike Patton.
It's awesome. It's one of the coolest covers I've heard,
man,
for sure.
I love that record. Irony, or EP rather. Yeah. But back to 94, you're talking about Downward Spiral, which is on the playlist.
Yes.
I sent you the playlist.
I did.
We can actually I know. Look, I know you were probably asleep when I was emailing you at 5 a.m. my time.
No, but there's a lot of killer stuff that's on. Like it makes sense why people wanted us to cover this one so much, right? Because like look at this first page. So Portishead was Jeff Buckley, right? Like iconic generational
Can
voice.
I tell you something about Jeff Buckley, Conan?
Please.
Why I'm a racist piece of shit. I slept on Jeff Buckley because I thought he was the white guy from Melrose Place. Remember the guy that, how do you talk to an angel? I thought it was
you thought he was like John Mayer or something.
So when I saw the CD, I was like, I don't want to listen to that fucking guy from 90210 Melrose Place. The guy sucks.
Yeah.
So it kept showing up on things I should like. And I remember my brother had it. My brother Joel had it in his room one day, and I was like, you fucking like this 90210 shit? And he looked at me like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. So I was like, fuck this guy. So I listened to Grace.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny. Maybe I was depressed.
Yeah,
I started tearing up.
No, it's intense. Absolutely.
That whole record. So then I'm Googling the motherfucker. I'm like, what do you mean he's dead?
Yeah. No, I just got into it.
Genius.
Right.
Why?
Exactly. Well, but at the time, and how he was presented at the time too, was as something more lightweight than what that music was. Like I did not engage with it at the time either, and it was that was something I was like, oh, this is really good. Like how did I not know? And it again, we still had a monoculture, but it was selective and it was fickle, and certain things only got presented in certain ways that had more nuance and depth. Like Faith No More. Faith No More was presented a certain way. That band has way more nuance and depth than
way more nuance and depth. Okay, so Jeff Buckley, but I want to put an end to this.
Yeah.
I didn't know Is it Beth Gibbons that sings Teardrop? Who sings No, who sings Teardrop? It's not Beth Gibbons. It's the woman from Cocteau Twins.
Yeah.
What's her name?
I don't remember.
Cocteau Twins lady. Dated Buckley for a minute. And Teardrop is like a love letter to him.
Yeah, Elizabeth Fraser from Cocteau Twins. Yeah, that's right. You got it.
And I always wonder, like, that song always sounded so sad to me, just her vocal over this really not sad beat.
Yeah.
And when I read the story, I was like, oh. And even that song took on a whole nother meaning for me.
Sure.
When I read that. But go and listen to Jeff Buckley's Grace. I have the title track on here, which I think is one of the, when you know that he's playing guitar and singing, if you see it live, he's playing guitar and singing in like different time signatures.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's an amazing guitar player. He went to Musicians Institute with Jeff Young from Megadeth. Did you know that?
I didn't, but it tracks. I mean, there is, well, and it's one of those things where you listen to it, and if you're not listening to it for those reasons, you don't necessarily get that. It just sound, oh, that's really cool. But then it's like, oh no, this is like, that's wild hard. What he's doing is like,
oh, man.
Crazy hard.
His range, his vocal range. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps, dude. Just thinking about it. Go listen to that record. This is The Last Goodbye.
Yeah. Ayatollah of Kraut Rock and Rolla in the chat saying that that I would like to know that Jeff Buckley was a huge Shudder to Think fan, and that totally makes sense because you think of Craig Wedren and what that guy does, like it's like, oh, it's right, it's like right down the line. It's a post-punk noise rock kind of version of that.
That
right?
tracks.
Yeah,
that tracks. What would if Jeff Buckley lives?
Would he make a new metal record? Is that what you're asking?
Would he have gone heavier? Do you think he goes heavier?
So you know who else like Jeff Buckley was Tom York. So I think you could see a situation where, especially when the Benz comes out, that like he maybe would like go like kind of that route.
So we missed it. So you're basically saying that we missed out on probably what would have been the most amazing Tom York, Jeff Buckley record.
Yeah, it would have been pretty good, right? Especially around that time, you know. I mean, I'd say anything pre-Amnesiac, post that first record, Radiohead can, you know, they're amazing. Like they're just forging new ground. And then it's even good after that. Like I know that, you know, I'm not as big of a fan of those later records as you are, but like they're still good. I like them.
In Rainbows is one of the best records I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, well, imagine if Jeff Buckley had been on it. Yeah.
Then I'd kick Tom York in his other eye and be like, just go away.
Imagine those men fighting in the studio. Fuck up out here, York. Pop.
The most sensitive fight you've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. They're sitting there, they're singing maudlin gazes at each other. Amazing.
Tear-filled fucking passive-aggressive arguments in the fucking control booth.
Exactly. Oh, the emotions are flying so fast and furious in there. I can't stand it. I gotta get out of the room.
Yeah. Oof. We missed out on a true giant right there. March of the Pigs is one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs.
Oh, it kills. So, like I'm not even like I don't think about Nine Inch Nails now. You know what I mean? But like, oh my god, like I listened to this record. I can tell you every note of this record backwards and forwards.
I watched them live at one of the festivals I was at.
Mm-hmm.
They played right after Tribe Called Quest last show.
Oh wow!
When no one knew it was their last show, and Nine Inch Nails went on and just killed, just fucking.
I don't doubt
killed.
It. Yeah,
great live show in a big room.
When they did that Nine Inch Nails Queens of the Stone Age tour, there's some reason why I couldn't fucking go to it, but I was like, God damn, that's a great pairing because they're both bands that are like of a genre that like embody that genre, but kind of go way beyond it at the same time and are more interesting than they're given credit for. And I'm like, I wonder if they're gonna like kind of push each other a little bit, you know. But
I got to see what's the band that's all methy? It's got Caius. So name another desert band that got big.
Nebula. Fu Manchu. Nebula. No. That's kind of more like
they were the guys that got in the stabbing that happened in the show in Europe.
Masters of Reality? Wait.
No. The stabbing. Remember the big stabbing that happened at that show in Europe?
Stabbing.
In France, I believe. Was it a shooting? I thought it was a stabbing.
Oh, you're talking about Eagles of Death Metal?
Eagles of Death Metal. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was like a massive shooting. Like
Shooting. I couldn't remember.
Like,
yeah,
a whole bunch of people were killed. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Dave Ketching, my friend Dave Ketching, was still in Eagles of Death Metal at that point. Yeah.
I saw them on tour with Mastodon.
That's quite the contrast. Okay.
And you know what city I saw it in? Reno.
That's a city. Well, I really like the first two Eagles of Death Metal records, and then I'm never mad at them, but it's like almost with Eagles of Death Metal, it's look, their first record was Hami on the kit
Mhm.
and Jesse on guitar playing through like a 15 watt amp.
Mhm.
And they're just blasting through this, and it works because those songs are tight and concise. There's no meat on them whatsoever.
Mhm.
Like, it's just as stripped down as you can get. And those first two records are both like that. And then like they started recording records in bigger studios and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's like your version of like the Stones or something. Right on, But it's like there's also they're not like a let's ear candy listen to this record kind of band. They're like a
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get laid, I'm gonna have a wild night, and this is how we're starting it off. Like you know what I mean? There's a difference. And the one, God, I guess the goal would be to do both somehow. But like it's not meant to be listened with like Pink Floyd and stuff. It's just raunchy, dirty rock and roll, that's all it is. So the further I got away from that, the more I'm like, I don't really care about the records, but as a live act, always great. Always good, and especially like any band that has Dave Ketching in it, I don't care. It's going to be amazing just because Dave Ketching's fantastic, and he's one of my favorite dudes, and I think an incredible.
We played with one of those desert bands. We were on the tour.
Fatso Jetson.
Isn't All Souls from the desert too? Or am I tripping?
Mario, Tony is.
Is Tony from the desert? He's from the desert, right?
Oh yeah, he's on like all those freaking. He's on some of those desert session stuff and. Yeah, all kinds of things like that. But yeah, Fatso Jetson. I mean, Mario Lawley's like the grandfather of like all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So like it's, and I think Fatso Jetson's like one of the most interesting ones out of all of them. So of course, probably one of the least popular.
I did miss their set because they let us bowl for free.
That's true. Oh my god, I know, right? Yeah. That's
I can bowl for free. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Hey man, I'm sure those riffs are great. I'm gonna be out here
I'll be out here bowling for free, living my best life. This is what rock stardom looks like to me, being able to bowl for free.
And I'm bowling now with it looks like a Wes Anderson movie.
I wish we had pictures of it because it
was a very photogenic
description.
Yeah.
The shows are gone there, by the way.
Yeah, they don't do shows there anymore.
There's pool tables there now. And bowling costs $75 an hour. Jesus Christ.
God damn.
Like they fucked you with one of the balls.
Wow. Yeah, I think chat's going nuts.
Good.
That we're not talking about their albums of choice. It is worth mentioning that Nas album was huge.
Nas is for me a great kind of reminder about how this era is so short-lived, and 94 is the last year on the list because it does mark a certain end. And that's what I was saying before. Grunge music, and I hate saying that, so Conan and I have both told you why we don't like saying it, but I know I need a descriptor for people.
Yeah.
The Seattle sound, the Seattle bands by 1994 have all become now radio rock staples, and now they're doing big rooms and arenas, right?
Right.
And Cobain kills himself, and it almost feels like that music is over. And it's not like they started in 91. These guys were in bands in the 80s.
Yeah.
So they've been at it for a long time, and they don't all end in 94. I mean, it takes
it definitely felt like the end of an era at the time, even though like it was definitely like it felt like something was different and kind of like some doors closed.
Yeah.
somehow around that time too, and that probably had a lot long to do with the fact that still with the monoculture, some of the weirder things that were let in weren't going to be let in anymore, right? But it did feel different. It felt like a loss of innocence for a lot of people, especially a little younger than me, And I was just like, oh wow, that's terrible.
And Nas's Illmatic, for me, lyrically, is a lot like, I think it's just the East Coast version of Doggy Style that Snoop Dogg
Oh, sure.
released a year before.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the hip hop lifestyle. Hip hop is a lifestyle brand.
Right.
And
Right.
we're going to show you how cool we are and sell some products in the meantime. And Nas really doubles down on that with the second record, which I think is 2 years later it was written, where he's no longer working with Premier, or I think he has like a couple Premier tracks on there, who's from Gangstar, Big and Pete Rock and Large Professor and Q-Tip.
Yeah.
Now he's working with the Trackmasters, who's producing all these radio friendly hip hop songs. The Fugees have their first record in '94, which is one of the worst rap albums I've ever heard.
And it was freaking everywhere. The Fugees. Like,
well, the next year,
the next year,
you know, when the score comes out, yeah.
But I cannot tell you. Like, I was like, what, that band? Like, is that it? And I was like, is it a different act? what it was like? Did they hear the same?
I would love,
not them, right?
I would love to be in a room with Proswell, Wyclef, and Lauryn Hill with no cameras, no microphones, because I want them to be really honest.
Yeah.
Put on no airs and say, hey, when you recorded Blunted on Reality in 1994, that very mediocre record, and then you do the remix to Nappy Heads, which kind of blows up. What was the feeling going into the studio to make the score? Because the score is probably not just one of the best hip hop records of all time. It's one of the best records of all time.
It should be in the conversation. It is deeply impressive. Like it is. And it's something where I don't know. And maybe it's because they didn't stay together as a band, you know, and then you had everyone had their own solo careers and or attempts at solo careers.
Sorry, Pros.
Yeah, sorry. Peace and love. But it basically became like, oh yeah, like Lauryn Hill's early stuff. It's like, no. It wasn't just Lauryn Hill. It was a different thing, and it was honestly way more interesting. Like way more interesting musically. Like there was more. It was something that at the time, I feel like it was rated accurately, and maybe for a short period of time, maybe even overrated, and now is massively underrated. And I don't know how all that changed, you know, but like it's pretty stunning. Like it was an impressive record when it came out. It was one of the, and this is, I see on the first page here. Look, Ready to Die.
Ready to Die, another record. I won't speak for you, Conan. Did not like.
Nope, didn't like it at all.
But that song, "Give Me the Loot,"
yeah,
badass song.
I came around to it later on, but at the time I was like, this sucks.
This is not a good record. It's a very mediocre record. Look, beats, there was still regional production, and there was still regional, a way you listen to music regionally. I'm from California. I'm from the Bay Area on top of that. So even LA stuff is different for me. And when we put in the big, I will never forget that we were in our friend Ryan Tanaka's house, and he would get every new record. And he had the Biggie Ready to Die. We were like, oh, right, because we heard Juicy. Yeah, Juicy was everywhere.
Sure.
And we put that shit, and we're like, what the fuck is this? This isn't Juicy. Next song, what the fuck is this? This isn't Juicy. Next song, like, this shit sucks, dude. What the fuck is this shit? You know, New York people swear by it, and God bless you. But
it was that regional thing, right? Like you had to, like, it was sort of like it was tied up in your identity as, I mean, there's nothing New York people like more than talking about and or repping New York. Great. I appreciate that about you.
Yes.
I mean, California, you know, NorCal's mad at SoCal, SoCal's mad at NorCal. We got a whole country's worth of people going on. But the one thing everyone can agree on is like, oh, East Coast rap sucks. Like it was an important part of your identity, right? And I was like, I don't even care. Not even like a rap guy. Like I was like a weird, like,
and there's some great look. 94, I was like, oh
yeah,
that's why I said this is also, besides just grunge music kind of hitting the finish line, if you will, of making it, but they finally hit there. You can say the same thing about the quote unquote golden era of hip hop. Granted, there's some records that come out in 95 and 96 that still get counted in the golden era. But when we think about it's the sun starting to set on this music, because Biggie does bring in with his remixes, hip hop's in the club. And when Nas leaves all that production in 1996
with the next one,
you know, with the next one, it's kind of like, I think this era is officially over, because, you know, you just don't make money in this era like you do when you get a radio crossover hit.
Yeah.
That's why the Fugees record is so kind of amazing, because that is a top record.
It almost shouldn't have been a big hit, but it is so good. How could it not be? But like it is almost like, oh, there's no reason why this should have worked, but somehow it did. You know.
Oh man, I know, right? The Fuji Lost song is like it's just Lauryn Hill was this thing that when I remember watching that Apollo, because I used to watch Showtime at the Apollo all the time, where she got booed as a little girl. And it wasn't like she was a bad singer. It's just them niggas just wanted to yell at somebody. And bitch, it's you tonight. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You got the short straw.
Yeah, you finna get it, bitch. But when she comes back with the Fugees, and I think they do Fuji La, those people are going crazy. And the Apollo's not the biggest theater. I don't even think it holds 500 people.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you hear about it in stories and it's like, oh, it must be like gigantic. Like, no, it really
it's like a really small thing. and they just are killing it. I was like, man, that's gotta be the greatest feeling ever, to get booed off stage as a child, and be on soap operas, star in a movie.
Yeah.
Your little, I think she's only in Sister Act 2 for what, maybe like a half hour total.
Sister Act 2, the dude,
and then steals the show.
Back in the Habit, right? That's the name of the
back in the Habit of Lauryn Hill being dope as fuck. And then you do this fucking second record with your group where all these people that told you to eat every dick, they can't wait. They're crying listening to you sing. What do you think that feels like?
Must be fantastic, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready. I got my enemies list all ready to go. Checking on you. I see you son of a bitch. I see you, piece of shit. That's right.
You're like Miss Nancy with the little mirror. And I see Billy, the A&R that told me I'll never make it. Hi, Billy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I never pay attention to any of that stuff, but I got my list ready. Yeah.
Of course, Green Day to me is the end marker for grunge, because now we have a way to call punk. We can actually.
I'm surprised we got an hour through and we didn't. We're finally addressing Green Day, right? That's actually kind of impressive. Granted, a lot of that was.
Oh, brother, I took out my whole. Basically, the preface for my half of the book I'm writing with Alex Herbert was the intro to this show. Right. I erase all that.
That's good. It makes for a stronger show, because then it lets a show kind of be the show, including discussion of road cases.
Yeah.
Right, 20 minutes, but
like,
whatever.
We would be pieces. Like, you would walk to Mexico just to slap the shit out of me.
Like, all I want to do is hear about Park Life by Blur, and these guys are talking about road cases. All right, fine.
Blur, aka
it's a show. God damn it, get with it.
Actually, speaking of Blur, I saw an interview with the main guy, right? And they were asking him, how did you make that what's the Gorilla song that first hit with Del from Sapien on it? I've been searching. What's it called?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Anyway, that song, they're asking him, how'd you do that song? He goes, oh, it's a preset on this little recorder thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was like
and the guy goes, no way. He goes, yeah, it's all a preset. And he goes, everything? He goes, yeah, everything. And he goes, let me see. And the guy presses the button.
Yeah.
And it's just that whole Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood's name of that song. Yeah.
It's a preset on a little bitty fucking Casio.
Yeah, isn't that fucking? It just goes to show you, it's like what you do with it, right? Like it's sort of, and like Gorillaz are like,
they're a band.
I like the idea more than I like most of the music, but they have a couple. I was like, oh, that's a really good song. Like that.
Anything they do with a rapper is really good. The one they have with De La is really good.
Well, yeah. Your stuff's not going to be weak if you have Del the Funky Homo Sapien on it. It's going to be interesting at least. And they have moments where it's like, oh, that's just like a really, like, it's almost like the stuff with that dude does with Blur. With Gorillaz, he kind of gets out of his own way a little bit. If that makes sense, because Blur is just so like, it's even when it's trying not to be, it's very tight, tense music to my ears, which has kind of led me to sort of like, I don't know, it's kind of a turn off. Like obviously there's a few, they have some banger songs. Like if there's no denying they have a few songs like, all right, that's great. Like they they have that song that sounds exactly like Pavement, where I'm like, all right, that song fucks. I would be like, if I wrote that song, I'd be like, this is awesome. Check this out. And it is. And people love that song. I was like, for good reason. It's a good song, you know. But for the most part, like Blur was sort of like, I would be like, yeah, this is the band y'all like, huh? It's this band? Like, it's fine. You know,
It's a thing. It's a thing, right? Yeah.
And then there was that like Blur versus, was it Blur versus Oasis? It was like all these like internecine battles. I'm like, I don't give a shit about any of this.
I didn't give a
I do
fuck,
not
dude.
care. I
didn't
care.
know why anybody cared about that. Like, this is this new thing called Britpop. And I was like,
Yeah,
I
oh
don't give a shit.
Who cares?
It's like the Beatles are back. Like, all right, I didn't care about them.
But Park Life, that's the one that has that girls and boys.
Yeah, that's the song.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember it at the time.
Yeah,
but
Great. Hey, you know what? Some of these songs I've been having a hard time with Spotify, by the way. It's been crashing on me as I was putting it together. Me and Ben Burgess were 8 hours at a coffee shop trying to do this. I woke up this morning, Conan, and tried to finish it.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the message.
I'm on the 3rd page and I still haven't hit hell of hit records.
Right. It's a huge year.
It's 150 songs and 11 hours in right now. And I'm not, I still have to, I can't do the playlist justice unless I go. There's like other records I don't have on here, like Godflesh. I haven't got on there.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the stuff our audience was.
I'm going to end it with Machine Head because I didn't tell you this, Conan. I spoke with Chris Kontos of Machine Head.
Okay.
And he was down to come on the show, but he goes, "Oh, dude, that's kind of early in the morning. I'm going to try to get up," because he had a birthday party last night. So he's like, "I'm going to try to make it." I was like, "Well, if you can make it even after 10, that'd be great." So I'm going to end the playlist with Davidian by Machine Head. So I wanted him to come on for something totally different.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to look at the year 1986 of just metal.
Right.
And
that seems like a thing you do. Sure. Yeah.
And he goes, see, someone goes, "No Godflesh." I'm not done, Dusty. See, you guys don't even listen.
I know everyone's like this, like they just want to freaking.
It's 150 songs from 150 albums. Give me a second.
Look, we're at 18. Let's give us a minute.
But Chris,
we haven't even addressed 17.
Chris goes, "You're doing the show in 1994." He goes, "I think I'd be better suited to talk about 94. And I was like, "Oh, dope."
Yeah.
So there's a lot more metal in 94 than I thought. But Sunny Day Real Estate, I think this is their second record, right?
Well, yeah. Is it the second record? I think. Well, I tell you what, it's the one that is like it's their timeless one. Any which way you want to slice, I should know. I freaking know those guys.
You know what's funny? Look at this. Blur and Oasis are right next to each other.
No. Diary's the first one, and let's stick with it for a second because that's a record I thought was a much different and more uninteresting record than what it actually was. Diary actually kind of rocks, and unfortunately, it inspired a bunch of nonsense, like this really bad stuff. But
what do you think it inspired?
I know, first of all, that it inspired a lot of emo bands, and that enough said, right? That like bands that like were less musically interesting, they were coming at like Jeremy Enix, kind of a freak, and I mean that as a compliment. Like he's just a unique dude. And a lot of people that like, I'm a Midwest boy and I have feelings, decided to like make a band that, was inspired by Sunny Day Real Estate. And it wasn't nearly so interesting. It didn't have that almost Jeff Buckley kind of thing to the music. And there's stuff that, and you hear it more in the deeper cuts on that record. And you really hear it later on where you get like the later like Rising Tide and stuff, where you have, and that's way later. That's like 5 years later, where you have Killed by an Angel and stuff. It's like, oh, this is practically a prog song. This is wild.
Yeah.
But Diary is a great record, and it inspired a lot of not great music.
Look at Conan just shitting all over my friends.
But
I'm gonna make sure to go to your house and shit all over your friends.
But it's also
like, you're friends with Conan. Your music sucks and your mom's a whore.
I'm just not an emo fan. It doesn't.
Nice to meet you.
I didn't grow up with it. I guess if you grow up with it, maybe like you have.
I didn't grow up with it. We're both older than all those.
Yeah,
guys.
like I'm like, what? You're singing about your feelings? Who gives a fuck? I don't give a shit. Like, you think you don't have like what? But again, that's like suburban problems, right? Suburban Problems
Yeah.
versus you also have Elliott Smith on here for Roman Candle. Elliott Smith, another generational talent, very tragic story. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am big into Elliott Smith, and again, usually not that big into people who try to rip Elliott Smith off. Like there's something about not just that guy's voice, but like the heart he put into his songs that carries it when it shouldn't be carried necessarily. Like from constituent parts, it shouldn't necessarily work.
Mhm.
But man, does it ever work? And that's probably one of his best records, as opposed to the Division Bell, which sucks. By Pink Floyd, not great.
I think we talked about it a little bit, but I want to talk about this. Outkast's first record is in 1994, and
Right.
my God, that record was amazing. I remember when we heard it, we thought they were from Oakland. We had no idea.
Because it kind of sounded like from nowhere. Because it's like
Yeah.
you had the East Coast versus West Coast thing, right? And
Yes.
then you have this other thing. It's like, what are these guys from Mars? What is like? Which is funny because then what was Atlians? What's the next
Yeah,
one?
AT
Right?
aliens. Right, 'cause they live in ATL. But it's so that music for me was so interesting because it embodied, and we talked about this with Justin Hunt, music journalist Justin Hunt last
Sure.
week. It embodies like all of Black music. There's spoken word on there. There's elements of gospel on there. It's like they're not afraid to embrace things that are starting to fall by the wayside.
Right.
You know, this is also post the
It wasn't cool to
anti-music
like
lawsuits.
Parliament, and if you did, it had to be in gangster rap. You know.
Yeah. They weren't super hard, right?
No, not at all. And
They weren't
everyone
killing
was
people on every song.
right. Exactly.
And I don't know if they get lumped into the golden era of hip hop because their music isn't boom bappy. Like people, you know, when you think about the golden era, it's like, oh, we're going to take these jazz or drum loop drums, and then we're going to put these jazz samples over it.
Yeah.
And Outkast is not doing that at all. And it's such a refreshing sound.
Yeah, like granted, this is like years later, but what does Stankonia sound like? Nothing.
Nothing.
It sounds like nothing. Like I remember first time I heard Bombs Over Baghdad, I'm like, oh shit. Like what is this? Like, this is like wild. This is I've never heard anything like this. It was just like hearing March of the Pigs for the first time, you know, in its way where it got this propulsive energy, but like I've never heard it deployed in this way necessarily. And I come from punk rock, and so that's always very interesting. And now granted, this is a different record, but there's a through line to this
Yes.
you know, Miss Jackson and So Fresh So Clean, et cetera, like that it's all kind of right there in that, oh, that's a cool seedling. I wonder what the fuck this plant is. Kind of way.
And I guess it blooms with that Speaker Box The Love Below double record that they
Right.
released like 10 years ago or so. It's been a while since that came out. Like these guys, as different as they are, made some of the best music across the board music that I've ever heard. And you knew when putting on an Outkast record, you were going for a ride. I like the Parliament Funkadelic analogy because you went for a ride. Rest in peace to Rico Wade, the man that discovered him and also produced a lot of that early stuff.
Yeah.
So sad that he passed away because that's, again, we're losing aspects of our music history, and that's why these shows for me are kind of important, because pop culture is a great reference when we talk about time.
Mm-hmm. It's a snapshot, right?
And MTV, I'm sure people saw they erased their whole MTV News archive. And this is something else they erased the entire archive of. I can't remember. But we have to remember these are private companies and the storage space is expensive. So a lot more stuff is about to get erased.
Mm-hmm.
So if all your favorite bands are only on Spotify, they might not be around next year.
Better buy those damn MP3s. That's all I got to say.
Right? So it's interesting time. We're going to go to the phone lines in just a little bit. I want to get through some more songs here in the top.
Yeah, I want to shout out Let Love In, which is probably my favorite Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds record. Just monumental.
Did I pick a good song for you?
Oh yeah. I mean,
okay,
it's
good.
Look, that is one of the few Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds records where I'm like, there's not a bad song. There's not a bad place to start on it. Like, and I had Mick Harvey on the show, I guess a couple of years ago now, and he gave some great insights into it. That's probably the one I throw on the most. It used to be Murder Ballads, but I think Let Love In is as far as like whether you know from the birthday party or not, you're like, I just want to check this out. That's the best place to start. I think it's the best record, and it's one of, you know, if again, I just said it's the one I listen to the most, so you know where my opinion of it is.
Yeah.
But it's something where there's a lot of different eras of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, like, and there's a sort of era now I'm not as into, which is like the sad laptop music. But this is the one that's got like Lover Man, it's got Django and Jack, it's got Red Right Hand, which was contractually obligated to be in every movie in the 90s.
Mhm.
You know, but it's great. You know, it's in Peaky Blinders, and they have like people who covers it and stuff. It's great. I mean, what is there to say? One of the best calling cards of that band.
Now, I know you don't do drugs.
Right.
I
know who does though. A little bit called Wayne.
Sadly, Conan and I are two of the most boring men in music.
The danger's in the music, not in
You know, yeah.
antics.
I think Conan has an occasional beverage, but I've never seen him twisted.
No, it's not a thing you're gonna see.
So yeah,
I keep asking people like, do you really want to see me on cocaine? I guarantee you don't.
I think you would just combust.
Either that or just be like super calm. You know, one of the like.
You know what? Don't want to find out.
Yeah, either way,
Too
we'll
late
never
now.
know. We'll never know.
Yeah, we're too deep in the game for you to be James Brown in it, finding out in your late 40s.
Living
that
in
noise.
America.
Yeah.
You ever see-
Yeah, no, I can't have you doing an interview where you
I'm not feeling back. Say nothing wrong. remember
Sweat
he's
your
on the
fucking
was it
ass
CNN
off.
or something? Oh my god,
yeah,
it was
when he
amazing.
shot up his fucking own office building.
Amazing.
You can't have Conan shooting up anything in Milwaukee. Not gonna be a good look for the
What a
Midwest.
wild. It's like, what is this? Who let this man off the chain? Put him on the news.
Madonna's bedtime stories.
Yes.
I think My Baby's Got a Secret is on this record, but I did take a bow because I like that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Low.
That Madonna record was pretty ubiquitous. That was
Madonna was
everywhere.
still fucking everywhere at this time.
yeah, she was still huge. And you know, like whatever, like it was I wasn't mad at it. I didn't have a great affinity for it or anything, but that was all over the charts. That was like
Yes.
year-end lists and stuff like that.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of. Yeah, it's just I
Oh,
Oh,
someone
yeah,
says Bjork.
Bjork
I didn't
is
know
on,
Bjork
one of
was.
the
I didn't know
That's
she was
right,
a writer
forgot
on
about
this
that.
record.
Yeah.
Did not know that. Madonna is one of those people that's not afraid to work with people that are better than her.
No, that's actually I think that's a sign of a really good artist.
That
So,
is.
But yeah, anyway, Madonna's fine. We all know Madonna. First Low record.
Yeah.
That's huge. And kind of a primitive work compared to some of their later stuff. But I Could Live in Hope a lot. The song Words, that first song, there was a set they did where they came out for the encore dressed as the Misfits. And they played a couple songs, including that one, like in the style of the Misfits. And I was like, that
Really?
fucking rocks. I love that. Yeah, it totally worked. And I was like, this rules. And I already like this band, and now I like them even more.
I wish I would have been there for that. Was that in the Bay?
I don't remember where the hell it was. I guess it must have been. But yeah, it was a long time ago. But I was like, hell yeah. And then like, I've actually never had them on Protonic. But I kind of know Alan Sparhawk socially. I should have them on Protonic.
Where are they from?
Duluth, Minnesota.
No shit.
No shit.
Oof. That explains the music. That shit sounds like Duluth. Have you
Yeah,
ever
it's
been
kinda
to
bleak.
Duluth?
It's kind of bleak and airy,
Right?
and yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever spent time in Duluth, but you've just made it all make sense to me with that fucking
Yeah.
Acid Bath.
Acid Bath.
Record.
I had
Dr.
that,
Seuss
I had
is
that
dead,
tape.
or when the kite string pops.
Yeah.
Very frightening album cover. This is what there's a few
John
album
Wayne Gacy,
covers that
right?
frighten me.
Wait, no, is it Ed Kemper? Who's the freaking what's the serial killer? That's
Fuck. Can't think of his name now.
fuck
The guy that drew clowns and dressed like a clown.
Right. Chat, tell us what's up.
The serial killer.
It is
Oh.
John Wayne Gacy.
John
Yeah.
Wayne Gacy. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's John Wayne Gacy paintings on there. It tells you exactly what you're in for that one. Ill Communication, Beastie Boys.
I put that song on there because that was my the only song I could listen to on this record. Ma Bell, I got the Ill Communication. Ma
Yeah.
Bell. Yeah. Didn't really dig the whole record, but I really dug
I
Get
like
It Together. And
I like Sure Shot, Root Down. I mean, that's one that Sabotage is massively overplayed, but I think that's like song 2 from Blur. It's like, all right, that's a well-written song. I'm just sick of hearing about it.
this is when the Beastie Boys got this, like, remember that was this around the time the Beastie Boys apologized for the first record?
When they started to get woke, yeah.
Yeah, they're like Free Tibet and all that shit. Is this around that time?
That
Right?
was definitely when they were into that shit. Yeah.
You know, and it really shows a lot of growth from them as musicians. They were kind of taking their hip hop roles seriously because they were,
sure.
you know, just people. Let's go back to the 1984 show and think about hip hop for just 1 second. Humor me, Conan, for 1 second. 10 years prior, hip hop has only a handful of full length albums.
Right.
And one of those records that's a very serious record is the first Run DMC record. When you look at another full-length album that comes out during that time that people look at as like, oh, this is a very important record. It's not really. It's the Fat Boys. And hip-hop is still a parody for a lot of people. It's not serious music. Run DMC is a point where it's like, no, we're serious about what we do. And there's other rappers that are existing in the 80s but before 86. But about 86, hip-hop really starts to get taken seriously. And you know, what were we talking about? I'm sorry. I looked up and saw that album cover. And
no, well, okay. So this is kind of a controversial opinion. I actually think Hello Nasty is a better record.
we're talking about the Beastie Boys. Beastie Boys become a serious group with Paul's Boutique, kinda. A lot of people point to Paul's Boutique, but they're still a little goofy in Paul's Boutique.
Right.
I think it's ill communication where they take themselves extremely seriously as rappers.
No, and like look, it's good. I'm just not a I'm not a passionate zealot for the Beastie Boys, and I'm not a hater either. Like I like a lot of it. Yeah, it's good. I think this is a good record. And there's some really good songs on it.
It's a solid record.
Yeah.
It's a solid record. You can put on Ill Communication. And again, for people saying you didn't put this song on it from this record, this isn't about your favorite song or us finding the best songs on the record for the playlist. It's literally for you to go listen to the albums.
Right. We're trying to give you some context. We're trying to give you some, you know, put you in the space. If you're there, you remember. And if you're not, you know, you can kind of like get like a window into this culture for a time.
Yeah, because I mean, look, if you think I listened to 150 albums in 1994 alone, I got some bad fucking news for you because I didn't.
Right.
I listened to the same 8 records over and over again.
Yeah.
That were probably 100 years old by then.
Yeah.
Because no one had money to buy music.
That's true.
Also, something we can talk about, probably get into more in that we do the show in 1982. But by the time you have listening stations, formats of music really change. So when you're listening to these albums or these songs, more so the albums, when you are dealing with an artist that's younger, that first song is fire on those records.
Yeah.
You find artists that are older and of a different time, like Pink Floyd, for example. Records were these works of art. By the time you get to 67, we did the 67 show talking about that. So they might not have a chorus in a song. They're just kind of doing what they want to do, especially at this point in their life in the 90s. So you guys are 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
For the younger people, it's like, I have 30 seconds to get you.
Right.
So we have to get into the hook very quickly.
Or the sound, right? Because Caius, the next one on here, very much a sound band that you hear. Like you hear that sound often emulated where it's like, whoa, what's happening there? That's a crazy. And then unfortunately for a lot of people, they hear the vocals and like, oh, I'm out. It took me a while to get behind it because of that. In fact, I remember saying on tour, though, I'm like, yeah, isn't there a song on Sky Valley where he just says, yeah, for like 5 minutes? And Jordan, who was the player at the time, was laughing. He's like, "No, it's a while, but it's not 5 minutes." And I'm like, "No, it's just like he's just going, yeah, for like 10 minutes." And I kept insisting on it, and then I didn't think too much about it. Then that man made a playlist made a
Really?
playlist that was Demon Cleaner that was just that part looped. And of course, being an audio engineer,
Mhm.
he killed it, and it's amazing. And we should tell these people. We should tell we should put the link in the chat here. I'll throw it in because it's pretty amazing and kind of zen like, and you can just like throw it on, and people will be like, how long has this been going on for? Because it totally works. It totally works. And I do really like Caius now, especially. I didn't love him at first, but like it is. I tell you what, one of the biggest shows we played, which was the Seattle McCluskey show a couple years ago, we put it on as our walk-up music. And we had to
Really?
go for like 4 minutes. And people, after about 2 minutes, people just started looking kind of confused and being like, what what's happening exactly? And it was great because we came up with that bit in Seattle on a much smaller show, like, whatever, 4 or 5 years earlier, which is me just talking that trash. But look, Caius is wildly influential for a reason. If you're remotely into like hard guitar music,
Yes.
you like, if you don't know that band, it's
You'll
like
get it. You'll get it right away.
you'll get it
yes.
immediately.
I said this to Ben Burgess because we were in this coffee shop we had never been to in the eastern part of the city, which it's just different from the coastal side, right? It's more I don't want to say
Right.
rural, but you're as my friend Connie calls it, you're in real Mexico now.
It's real shit.
You know
You're
what
on
you
the real
want?
shit.
You're in the barrio, baby. You're gonna die. Like if you don't speak Spanish, your ass out. But so we're sitting down trying to make this playlist. Spotify's crashing left and right. And again, guys, I'm not done with the playlist. Megadeth's not even on the playlist. Like my favorite band in the fucking world is on the playlist. So please, it's 11 hours. I know you can get through 11 hours. I can finish it by then.
Yeah.
Just let me finish it before you start telling me and my mom how horrible people we are.
People
Okay.
brutalize you. I have the easy job in this. I just get to like for once in my life, I got the easy job in something where I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh, that sucks. Oh, here's a funny story. Here's a quip. Like I don't have to do any of this shit. Jason does all of the work, and I'm like, great. Finally, there's something where I don't do all the work. Lovely.
Yeah, I can't have you do all that. I can't have you.
I
do
appreciate that. You're the
it.
only one.
But you know what? I also know where in this show where your strengths are.
Well, because like what we were saying, like last episode, right? It's like, oh, I don't have to prep for the show because I've been prepping for this my entire life. I have all this useless knowledge, like it's the only time this knowledge is useful. It's like my show and this, and for very different reasons.
I still want to do. I hope Chris. I'm going to send him a message when I turn the phones on because I want to turn the phones on now. I'm sure people have some things they want to yell about, and I want to hear people yell. I want to hear people talk about their favorite record. I want to hear. You know what I want to hear? When we did the '93 show, which was kind of a joke almost, because '93 is not on the list of greatest years of music.
Yeah, it was just.
But there was a really good year of music. There's some awesome records that come out in '93. But that's the most downloaded playlist that we have.
Really?
Oh, it's killing 67. For me, 79 is the year that's like, wow, so much cool shit happens in 79. But yes, it's 93. So I'm hoping 94 gets a lot of love as well. So Conan, be entertaining for 1 second. Someone is knocking at my door.
I'm just telling people. So Jason put the playlist in the playlist. He put the video in the chat. And if you're wondering what that video is, like if you weren't just paying attention to it, it is Demon Cleaner by Caius, but just the part where he goes, yeah, for 10 minutes. And it's looped so well and professionally by Jordan Sabalo that even if you don't know Caius, you can listen to it and you'll get it immediately. And you also get why I said that, because it is so intrinsic to the thing. So I'm putting that in there because I feel like it gets a resurgence every like year or two, and then people kind of comment on there, which is great. It's a great bit in and of itself. But it's kind of the genius and also the frustration for some people with that band. But it's hard to overestimate like how there just was nothing like that in the world. I mean, I think Queens of the Stone Age, which is Josh the guitar player's band, afterwards is much more musically interesting and kind of made more progression in music, and honestly wrote different songs that I think have more staying power, but they do that thing so well. It's easy to see why Dave Grohl was completely obsessed with them is the best way that I'll put it for that. But yeah, 94 is great. Great year. Also, by the way, if you have a name for this show, I think we've evolved well beyond Pop Life. And Pop Life is great, and it's great to have this show be part of that under that umbrella. But if you can come up with a short name for the show, we will give you some prize of some kind, because we have been trying. We cannot come up with a name for this show. And I'm all about naming stuff. Jason's very good at naming stuff as well. It's got to be short. It's got to be sweet. Hopefully something like positive. I don't really want to be a song reference. And then we talk about it. And I don't know, these conversations go nowhere. So if you enjoy the show, which I would imagine if you're watching it, you're probably getting something out of it, then you should give us a name and we'll give you some kind of prize of undetermined value and style and variety if you come up with the name for the show. So anyway, yeah, 94 is an interesting year for me because that was, like I said, there's a lot of music I got exposed to that I'd never been exposed to before. Perfect example of this is this is like the Ambient Works Volume 2, Aphex Twin. And again, this is a couple years before Come to Daddy and the electronic music stuff. But I had really, it sounds so funny, but I had really never listened to ambient music before. And it's something that kind of opened up some worlds for me where it's like, okay, this is definitely a song, but this is also, as they say, a whole vibe. And that was huge for me. It was huge to hear something like that evoked thoughts and feelings in the same way that great soundtrack work can do that. And it's to this day, I actually think it's one of the best ambient records ever made, at least for my personal taste. And it's entirely wrapped up in its own world and creates its own moods. And that's something that I had to go back to it. I actually wasn't even working at a record store. I was not cool enough to know Selected Ambient Works Volume 2 until I heard the harder, later Aphex Twin stuff and kind of went backwards. I was like, oh, this is very different. Oh, interesting. And that's, think of like Vangelis and stuff. Like I think the Blade Runner soundtrack, stuff like that. Just something that does a great job of evoking moods and things along those lines. I think that's deeply impressive. Call in, by the way, 510-319-1899 and tell us why we're wrong. John Tesh music is its own genre. It really is. Live at Red Rocks, baby. Live at Red Rocks. What else do we have? So let's see. We got a lot of oh my God, we didn't even talk about Unwound yet. Jesus. New Plastic Ideas comes out in 94. That's one of the bands and records that made me want to play music. So got to give a shout out to Unwound, who are back and touring, making good money. I recently found out what their guarantee was, and I was like, good for them. You will not be seeing them at Caterwaull anytime soon, but good for them. Good for them. Changed the way, basically Sonic Youth sensibilities, but with like hardcore energy, right? That but it's like sort of the original conceived Unwound before they went more spacey, more kind of like prog kind of, and sometimes in the same song. They could be like the best band in the basement. They could be the best band in the arena, depending on the set. And not a lot of bands can pull both those things off, and certainly not ones that are, for lack of a better term, a musician's musician band. And there's something very deeply impressive about that. And I think it's amazing that they're in there. Another, I guess I'm just gonna shout out a bunch of people I know, bands I know, but I assure you I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to get to some of the more esoteric ones that are in there. There's a lot of shellac. Right,
Shellack's on the playlist.
Yeah.
So the list I get this from,
Steve Albini actually had pulled all the Shellac stuff and Big Black and everything else off of Spotify, and so after he died, I think Heather put it back up because
that was quick.
Yeah.
Shit.
But we would be remiss to talk about influential records and not mention At Action Park.
That's quick though.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was something they talked about. I don't know, which is crazy because I know those guys, but
but he wasn't really that sick, right?
He wasn't sick at all. He was in great health. It's a heart attack, man.
That's scary.
or a actually, hold on, what is it? It's a cardiac event. I guess
He had a heart condition that was like undiagnosed.
I guess so. I don't know.
I mean,
there's people talking about mid 90s Sonic Youth. Experimental Jet Set Trash and No Star comes out this year.
yep, that's on the list.
Probably nobody's favorite Sonic Youth record, but but that said, like Bull in the Heather is freaking awesome. Like that's a great song.
Someone says Discovered Unwound in high school was confounded when I first heard them, but they grew on me quickly. I had never heard them until we played with them.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, because like I said, I don't know if you heard or not, but I mean, they're one of the bands that made me want to play music. You know, like
yeah, you said that on stage. I was like, that's why I was like, okay, well, you know, there's no bowling alley here tonight. Again,
yeah. Let's hear this shit.
Let's just gotta hear it.
What do you got, kid?
You know, and I was talking with a lady friend last night, and there's certain things that kind of break my heart a little bit about music and the way I think people relate to it and understand it. And just because you play a small club that have a good amount of people in there, when you're 20, 30 years into a career where you've had like decent sized record deals, you've played large festivals, you've opened for hella large bands, and you're still playing clubs 20 years in, I don't look at it as like a defect in your character or you didn't do the right thing. It's just kind of that's music. Sometimes you never get out of that phase.
Dead Moon, right? They made great records. They were like one of the best rock bands, and they never really like even started playing like larger theaters, really, except for like outlying events. But they were doesn't mean they were a bad band. They're a great band that like were beloved by people that beloved them. And there's plenty of examples of that. And the idea that something has to scale up. Like that's an inherently capitalistic thing. It doesn't always happen. And it shouldn't always happen. It's ruined a bunch of bands. Ruined.
There's bands that blow up and you're like, how?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I don't say that because I really enjoyed the B-52s.
Right, but they're a deeply weird band, especially
they're
early
a band that happens at the right time. Timing is so important. 79 is a perfect time for those cats to do something.
Again, one of the weird windows that they let the weirdos in.
They let the weirdos in 79 and everything. That was punk. Yep. Oh, look, you're throwing some beehive hairdo on to throw back to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And you got this weird tall guy just yelling out some outlandish shit.
Yeah, and the guitar player that's like doing non-Euclidean geometry and never repeating parts for some reason. It's like, who is it? Where? How did this guy learn to play? Like, I don't understand what's happening, but it's great, you know. And it's like there's something to be said for that. And they did scale up, but they did scale up in a way that, you know, with Ricky dying, like it was, they became more of a conventional band, ultimately. Like, you know, of which you have like, you know, one powerhouse singer and one just great rock and roll personality that like is an all-timer as well, but they scaled to be more conventional band, like especially think like, you know, the Rome era, Love Shack, etc. Also shout out to Bill Cody in the chat, by the way.
But do you know where Bill Cody is right now?
I do not.
Paraguay. So he's watching this while he's doing a documentary in Paraguay.
Dang.
So shout out to Bill motherfucking Cody. But we got some calls, Conan.
What do we got?
Okay, I can see because I don't have no call screener today. There's no Toussaint screening. Just when you guys call in, unfortunately, there's been an issue with you guys not being able to hear the other person, i.e. Conan. I've been trying to do everything I can to turn him up on everything, and still you guys have a hard time hearing. So
I'll just have to be louder.
Call in and make your point and be ready to take our response off air. Now, coming in from an 843 area code, caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Dizzle McFizzle, baby.
Hey.
Where were you last night, Dizzle, when we were watching Repo Man and the Untouchables? Your favorite ska band was in there.
I had a hoe had come over.
There it is. The hoe related content you create.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But listen, I will prioritize what did the kids call it? Punani over
As you should. As you
watching a
should.
movie.
You can
about
tell.
Emilio Estevez.
You guys can tell when I'm alone because these shows last for 3 hours. If there's a woman here, this shit's gonna be 45
We can
minutes.
keep it tight.
Yeah.
More ways than one. Am I right?
Am I right?
Exactly.
So, what's going on, Diz?
It's called priorities. Listen,
Indeed.
I'll have to say, well, I was going to give you some suggestions for the new name of the show.
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, lay it on us.
So you could call it Liner Notes.
Okay.
You know, because the
Interesting.
whole
Yeah.
point is you're trying to get people to listen to these records.
Yeah,
Ooh.
okay.
Okay. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
It's not bad.
Also, you could call it B-sides because you're obviously not picking for your playlist. You're not picking the hits. You're picking songs that typify those bands.
Mm.
Which I think bands are more typified on the B sides of a record than they are on the A side of a record.
Okay. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like liner notes. I do like that.
I like that these are short too. These are
Yeah.
short
And
and titles.
also,
Mhm.
go ahead. I can't hear you.
No, go ahead. Go. No, you go ahead, Dizzle. You go ahead.
Oh. So, and then also I was going to say, how dare you not talk about ska from 1994?
There it is. There it is.
Which is an egregious miscarriage of justice.
Right.
And I am on my motorcycle right now, on my way to where Conan is, to confuse my mind. If I confuse my mind, I mean I don't know where he is, and I'm driving around.
Can you imagine he knocks on the door and just wants to talk about the egregious slap of ska?
Dizzle, are you in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I live in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah, you can. You can. You and Conan should.
Good
meet.
luck. Come find me.
And don't dox yourself, Conan.
I
will,
won't. Don't worry.
simply employ. I will simply employ my socialist trans friends to beep the horn around the city until they find where you're at. With the old-fashioned way. And by, yeah, I'm not really serious. I'm not.
It's like the horn of Gondor, but it's like it's the trans call.
The trans call. The trans beacon. Oh man. Well,
Exactly.
well Dizzle, thank
My
you.
army of trans socialists.
In Milwaukee of all places. Jesus Christ.
Like there's a lot of
Yeah. It's an army I'm building. Okay.
Yeah.
Like some people said that the eclipse made them turn people trans. It actually made me more man. I'm double man now.
Dizzle's
Man
like,
before, and I became a greater man.
onward to Racine.
when people were talking about all the things
Also,
all the things the eclipse were going to do, I'm like, are you from like the dark ages? Why do you think these things? Like, this is crazy. Like, platforming people was a mistake. Thank you.
Well, Dizzle. Oh, I think he's gone. Dizzle, thank.
it's horseshoe theory
Mhm.
about people's mentality. The internet has fried people's brains so
Yeah.
much that they've returned to medieval peasants.
Exactly.
So now we all believe the sun is magic and the earth is flat.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll take my answer offline.
Thank you, Dizzle.
I keep forgetting it's in,
I enjoy having regular callers. Dr. Claw, we got to meet Dr. Claw in DC. I look forward to meeting Dizzle one day. That's a lot of fun. We have another caller. that I think
Milwaukee is a very progressive city in a lot of ways. It's also deeply racist and
I mean, that's why I can't even like make a funny face at you. It's just
no. There is so the problem is it goes beyond a blind spot. Like it's so segregated. It's preposterous, but it is in a lot of ways a very progressive city. Just
Prester John says Paraguay is the Tito Jackson of South America. And I have nothing to say to that other
Shots
than
fired.
okay. Yeah. That's sure.
I feel like Tito Jackson would be the easiest Jackson to hang with.
I actually know I know people that know Tito Jackson.
I believe
Because of that reason. Like, yeah, apparently he's like super chill.
Yeah, what's he doing? Nothing. What's he up to?
Bill Cody says, I'll go with Jermaine, but it's actually more the Janet. So says Bill Cody.
Fair.
We have a caller, Conan, and I think this person is mad at you.
Great.
Calling from a 651 area code. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, this is Mariana from Minneapolis.
Are you mad?
I am somewhat upset. I think the list, there's some pretty good bands, but one, I don't know how Heroin Man by Cherubs isn't there. So,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you forget that? Isn't this like a y'all know noise rock?
Well, I think is it not on there? I thought didn't I mention Cherubs?
Cherubs is on there, but I don't
Yeah.
know what song is on there.
Oh, it's like
There's
this
again,
playlist is so long.
there's
We'll never get to the end of it.
150 songs from 150 albums. If this was
Yeah.
Jason's favorite songs of 1990, yeah, they hung up.
Yeah,
If
Stag
this-
Party is on there. Stag Party is on this playlist.
If
ma'am.
this was
I'll have you know.
Jason's favorite songs of 1994,
Yeah.
then it would be Get the Girl, Grab the Money and Run by Souls of Mischief 15 times. Davidian by Machine Head 16 times.
Yeah. So right, we get it. So if you go to song 140, Stag Party by Heroin Man, I'm glad you put Stag Party on because that's the one that starts with like the classic phone off the hook noise.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first heard that record, I heard it. I was actually already living in Oakland at that point, and we still had one of them phones that like you take it off the hook and it would do the noise, and that's how that song starts. And I was like, motherfucker, who left the phone up every time? And then like, oh, it's the record. But yeah, like every time you would give me every time. I'm like, how do I not know? I've heard this album so many times. How did I not? It took me like probably 10 times before I went. But here's the thing. It was like a 2-bedroom apartment. We had like 8 people in there, right? It was like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, people were always leaving that phone off the hook. I'm like, why are you leaving the phone off the hook? And one of the reasons why might be because we had it was still dial-up modem, screaming 56K speeds. But yeah, if the phone was off the hook, couldn't dial in, couldn't get on the internet to go like spend 20 minutes downloading a GIF of a naked woman, like it just wouldn't be possible. But yeah, I mean, look, Heroin Man's great. That's a fantastic record. I'm lucky enough that I now know Cherubs. I've seen them a few times. They played Caterwaul. Great band. I'm glad they're back. Pete Shore from Unsane is playing bass for him now, and that's a great mix. And I like all their records, but I think Heroin Man's probably it as far as like that early Cherubs thing. They've kind of done some other stuff now, and I like it all, but it is on the list. I would have we just
and I will add again that
got through,
I'm
like,
not
30 of
done.
these.
I'm not. Look, I'm not. Can I look? I'm gonna name some. Where do we leave off? We're on the screen.
We were talking about
25.
Unwound.
Yeah, okay, look. This Jettin' by Diggable Planets is a personal favorite song of mine from that record. It's just like the happiest song on a very dark record by Diggable Planets.
Sure. Yeah.
Get It Together was my favorite song in Ill Communication. I never listened to Welcome to the Sky Valley and remembered a song on it. I think I listened to it one time. I hated Grave Diggers. I never listened to Drive Like Jehu until
Drive Like Jehu, another band that I got
never liked Mayhem. Never got into Beck.
That's a great Beck song.
Didn't know who Fishmans was. It's a Japanese group. Don't like The Offspring. Never cared for Emperor. Protections, one of my favorite Massive Attack songs. Organized Confusion is one of my favorite groups. Never got into Dark Throne. Never got into Manic Street Preachers. So a lot of this
through every one of these. There's like 200 of these. Should I just leave?
No, I'm just saying. A lot of this music is stuff I don't know, and it's not about what I like. Again,
no, it's about representing the year. Yeah,
it's about representing the record that came out this year.
Yeah,
go back and listen. You have the ability in 2024 to do something that we couldn't do in 1994, which is go, oh shit, and on your phone Listen to the whole fucking album if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, Jehu, one of my favorite bands. Gang Crime's probably one of my favorite records of all time. Another influential band to me that I got into 6 months after they broke up. But I got the opportunity to see them again when they reformed some years back a couple times. That was pretty darn wonderful. I've talked to Trombino, I've had Furberg on the show, R.I.P. One of the great guitar records in my mind. Mayhem, fuck Mayhem. Motherfucker is a great my back.
That's the band that killed the members, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music sucks. I'm sorry. Peace and love, but Mayhem blows.
I'm just
I like Mellow Gold a lot. And Motherfucker, everybody's out to get you, motherfucker. It's good. I saw a band do an encore that was just that song once, and I was like, I have no notes. That's fantastic. It was so good. I kind of the post Odelay stuff mostly misses me. I respect Beck more than I like listen to Beck now, but I'll be fronting if I didn't say that I listened to a lot of Beck way back when.
there's music on this playlist, I'll say, that I didn't know.
Right.
And I'll be, making it, and you can listen to a track and and I'm like, oh, this is pretty dope. Like, I didn't realize the Blade Runner soundtrack came out in '94.
Yeah, because they did they re-released which one was it? They re-released, like, it was one of the re-releases that they did of the movie, and they were like, oh shit, people like the soundtrack. We should put this out.
Which is, I actually love the Blade Runner soundtrack. So
it's really good. I actually, when I mentioned when you're gone briefly, I talked about selected ambient works and how like the idea that like just music disassociated from being like a soundtrack for a movie like the Vangelis Blade Runner score was kind of like opened up my world a little bit for that. That was
a monster record this year for a band that sadly lost a member. TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool. It's a monster.
Yeah,
in 1990.
Is what's on that one? I'm trying to remember.
Cause I creep.
Oh yeah.
I keep it on the down low.
That's got Waterfalls too, I think, right? Or is that
Yes.
Okay.
Let's just go through this real quick.
All right,
Creep.
all right. Yep.
Kick Your Game. I think that song wasn't a single. Digging on You was a single.
Yeah.
Case of the Fake People, I think, is not a single. Red Light Special is a single. Waterfall Falls is a massive single. I think If I Was Your Girlfriend, a single. I swear it was. A lot of singles on that record, and a massive record.
Oh, Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
That was the one before, but yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the set list. From my bad. That's on me. My bad.
So, TLC has this massive record, and sadly, it's kind of also one of those records where it explains how one of the things that I think is still hard for people to understand, you can have a massive record but still be in debt to the label.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And it takes a third record sometimes to get you out of that hole. And they never really had that.
Those are different problems for different times. That's for sure.
Now you just don't have the money at all. If you don't
right.
if you don't have it to begin with, you're not in it.
It took me working at a record store to finally listen to Guided by Voices, because I just was like, I don't know how I feel about that name. And also, they have even back then they had a million records, but B1000 is absolutely. I think I don't think anyone would argue it's one of the best ones of them. It's pretty hard to fuck with. It does all the things that Guided by Voices does well, and almost none of the stuff that they do badly. And if it does, it's over almost immediately, which I love. I love that. I love that for them.
Unwound. I have Entirely Different Matters.
Yeah, I was talking about that, and one of the reasons I play music, there's and one of their New Plastic Ideas is one of my favorite records by them, and that's not much to say other than that. Just Without a Sound by Dinosaur Jr. comes out this year. Not the best Dinosaur Jr. record, but it features their biggest hit, which is Field of Pain.
Is that their biggest hit?
By a large margin. And it sounds almost exactly like Sebadoh, which is so funny because Barlow wasn't even in the band at the time.
Sebadoh is on this list as well.
Oh, what was I can't
remember the name of the record. It's pretty far down. Okay, I guess I do have Megadeth on here. Okay, I lied. Megadeth record. Pantera, really... Far Beyond Driven, great record. I'm Broken, love that song. The Prodigy is on here.
Oh yeah.
This is after they blow up, right?
I think so. I never really.
No, this is before. This is before.
This is before Fat of the Land. What's funny? A funny thing about the Firestarter, right? That's the name of that song, right? It's Fat of the Land. It has a sample from an L7 song.
Really?
Yeah, that is called "Fuel My Fire." People like you just fuel my fire. It's a small sample, but it's enough that like whatever. Some lawyer contacted another lawyer, and then like L7 got a taste. But there is the band, the Cosmic Psychos, right? That are just a hilarious and long-lived pub band from punk rock band from Australia who's toured there, like Melvins, Mudhoney. I saw them with Mudhoney like in the 90s, whatever. That they have she's a lost cause, like basically to put it as succinctly as I can, which is not at all apparently right now, Danita inadvertently while drinking was like, oh man, I think I kind of ripped off that Cosmic Psycho songs, to which Ross is like, don't worry about it, like they're old buds, right? And then but it ended up being like in that it sampled for that Prodigy song, which made it like billions of dollars. And so that ended up being something that it inadvertently like made Cosmic Psychos a bunch of money, and one of the guys ended up like buying a bar.
Really?
With that, yeah.
I heard of. Okay, so I watching these weird things about these bands that I didn't really care to follow. I watched the thing on Velvet Revolver, and apparently
that band
on their first record, the original Velvet Revolver was going to be Slash, Duff, Matt Sorum, and the guitar player and singer of Buckcherry.
Oh, okay.
And then something happened, and they went with Scott Weiland. And
Buckcherry.
In doing that, they had wrote one of the songs that's on the first record. I don't remember if it was a single or not.
Yeah.
But that first record sold a lot of copies. But one of the songs that's on that first record had some riffs from this jam session that the Slash and the Buckcherry dudes had done.
Yeah.
So those guys got credit for that. That album comes out, does well. They get sued by this other band that they've never heard of.
Yeah, who's this?
And that band goes, "Oh, you ripped us off."
Who's suing me now?
So apparently Buckcherry was practicing next door to this other band, and they ripped that band off.
Wow. Wow. So that's like the less friendly version of the story I told about.
Yeah. Isn't that that's the music business in a nutshell.
Damn. That's
in
crazy.
A nutshell. There you go. I thought that was hilarious.
It is. Melvin's Stoner Witch comes at 94. I have to give a shout out because A, it's my favorite Melvin's record, and B, Conflict of Interest alert. Dale Crover plays with me, of course, but it's one of the great heavy rock records of the 90s, especially. And people give it up for Houdini. I think Houdini is really good. I think Stoner Witch is a much better record. I think that's sweet. That first of which the song
heavy.
You put on the playlist, it's the first of like 4 songs that are more or less a suite. That's kind of like, oh, this gives you an idea of you can do a lot more than just like some Nebula stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can do a lot more than just that. Which, by the way, somebody mentioned Fu Manchu. I mentioned Fu Manchu when I was trying to name the desert band that it was Eagles of Death Metal. And I mentioned Fu Manchu. They're from OC. Somebody felt the need to make that correction. Okay.
No shit.
I don't care. But they're also like, look, it's understandable. We're talking about music that sounds like that, right? And anyway, but yeah, Dale plays with me, of course, so Conflict of Interest. But I think Stoner Witch is their best record, probably followed by Senile Animal, which is much later.
I actually really enjoy the record that we have on there, Stoner Witch. Melvin's is a band that I don't go back to enough, and having a reason to go back was kind of fun.
Right.
Also, Method Man's first solo record is 94, Bring the Pain, it's called To Cal. Not a good record, but Bring the Pain, great song. Right. His hits are on this record, right? You're All I Need and all this stuff. This is like, it's not a good record. Common Sense, he changed his name to Common in 94.
Oh, Common, yeah.
And releases probably one of his biggest songs, I Used to Love Her. which is a song Toussaint hates. You know why she hates it?
I do not. Why?
She says, "How dare you say hip hop is a woman that doesn't act like you want her to?"
Ooh, I see.
I was
Okay,
like-
all right.
I said, "You felt
right.
that way in '94." She goes, "Mm-hmm."
Wow.
Still
good
do.
for
And I
her.
was like, "Well, okay."
Still do. She says,
Why
double
not?
it down.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to list this record, Resurrection. If
Yeah.
you listen to the first Common record, it's his demo,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like a
word.
really mediocre Daz Effects record, but there's a couple good songs on it. But the remixes are really good. When you listen to Resurrection,
Yeah.
this is peak golden era hip hop music.
Right. Yeah,
And
sure.
I Used to Love Her is just like the first song, Resurrection, is just Common just ripping. Then he gets to I Used to Love Her, and we're like 16 years old. So that's like the deepest thing we've heard. Like, hip hop's a woman. Oh my God.
I'm freaking out, man. Yeah, exactly.
And that bitch doesn't listen. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And she won't date me. Oh my God. And there was just little things he was doing in this record that for us at 16 were like the coolest things in the world. Like communism isn't about him talking about a more equitable society. It's him, every lyric in the song starts with a C.
Right.
But that was like,
And that was one of those shows.
oh dude, that was like, you're the most creative rapper that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Let's all move to Chicago and fucking bask in your essence. I have the worst Gangstar song of all time with the best beat. DeWick
Mhm.
is a freestyle that you can tell is a freestyle because the shit that they say in this song is so mediocre when you listen to the lyrics.
Like, I
But-
wish there's a better song around this.
Dude,
Yeah.
Guru. Everybody goes, Guru is one of the greatest well, now they don't say it as much. Guru is one of the greatest lyricists of all time.
Mhm.
His verse starts off with, I said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I wreck a mic like a pimp's house.
Very good. There you
The best line is by Greg Nice. I left my Philly at home. Do you have another? I want to get blunted, my brother. But those are so like, you're freestyling. You're probably stoned out of your mind. And you guys recorded it, put it on wax, and released it as a single.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious. We talked about, did we talk about Undertow?
No, the Lush album, no.
Yeah. What do you think about Lush? Are you a Lush guy?
They're okay. Yeah, I think they're interesting. I never like changed my world or anything, but like I thought they're good. You know what changed my world was that Bold and the Heather video because he had some. Did you ever see that Bold and the Heather Sonic Youth? That's the one you have set aside.
I liked the song actually.
You have so first of all, hard to argue with in the song itself.
Mhm.
You have a great you have a great video for it, right? And you have has Kathleen Hanna basically like acting up and jumping around and being crazy at the peak of her power from Bikini Kill, and it's just a great song. it's awesome. It's a very memorable video especially if you're a man of a certain age. But it's I wish the rest of the record was as good as that single, and it kind of isn't. But respect to Sonic Youth. We talk about. I feel like Sonic Youth's always making records. So
Were they in '79?
I know, right? Yeah,
They were in the '93 show. I think they were in the '93.
They're in the '93 show.
That's
They
Goo,
did
right?
their first '93. Yeah,
Isn't it
Dirty. I
Goo?
think. I think it was Dirty.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Goo was 1990.
Okay,
I mean,
my
they
bad.
have a lot of records, and the thing is, they go back a lot further than a lot of people realize. Like some people
Mhm.
got on board with like Evil and Sister, like 86, 87, right? But Bad Moon Rising with Bob Burt, who's been on the show multiple times.
Well, how old is
including
Kim Gordon?
I don't know, but what I was gonna say, just finishing my thought here, Kill Your Idols is 83, right? Which is the first EP, and then Confusion is Sex is the first record, which is 83. So they go back all that way. Kim Gordon's band, by the way, I was like, oh wow, there's like stuff on a talk show that or whatever, late night show, whatever it is, that sounds like a Dead Writer. She's 71.
71. I just looked it up. Yeah. So I mean,
Good
they're
on her,
great.
man. Doing
Yeah.
like artistically viable music, like
Her new shit is actually pretty hard.
that's why I was saying that. Like
Yeah,
it sounded like
yeah.
Dead Rider or something. I was like, hell yeah, this is cool shit. Can we see Jamiroquai? Jesus Christ. Okay.
Wow, no, you Jesus fucking Christ. This is a great fucking album. You can go fuck yourself. I will go to Milwaukee and give you a stern talking to. Stern talking to.
What was there to talk about? I don't like it. There's nothing to
Look,
discuss.
It doesn't like you. How do you like that? It doesn't like you, Conan.
Look, just do a Google Jamiroquai plus hat. All right, and that's all you need to know about. Like that shit was everywhere in
Wow.
Berkeley. I was mad at it. I'm
Look,
still mad. Clearly,
Don't be mad because you didn't get one of those hats. You act like
I
the
would not-
Jamiroquai
I-
dude stole your girl.
1,000 years. I
He
would
came
never wear a
fucking
hat like that.
break dancing in and just stole Conan's girl. Conan was at the top dog and that motherfucker just it's a stillness in time. Just
Fuck you,
break dancing.
Jamiroquai. Get your ass out of here. How dare
Fucking
you.
watch out, man. Jamiroquai is still your girl. Mary J. Blige, who I didn't know, Shaka Khan. She covers Shaka Khan's Sweet Thing, but not on this record.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's
I
even on this?
heard
I don't even remember which one this is.
My Life, where they sample
Okay. Yeah.
Sunshine.
That's
But
good.
anyway, what's the 411 with Grand Poobah? Anyway, so I didn't know Shaka Khan hated her version of Sweet Thing.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yo,
okay.
Shaka Khan goes, I know Mary J. Blige. I'm good friends with her. And that sounds horrible. She sounds like trash. I said, did you record this like in the morning or something when you woke up?
Oh,
And she's
wow. Like
and
that.
she said Mary J. Blige told her, yeah, I had a rough night the night before. She goes, why the hell would you record something like this if you was out all night partying and doing whatnot? And I was like, oh my God, don't ever cover Shaka Khan shit.
Jeez, she's really mad about it. It sounds like that's crazy. That's she listened clearly because she's informed by like, did you record this earlier in the day? It was like, oh, okay, so she's
That's like real
coming
like
for blood
ooh,
on that.
oof.
That's so wild.
I was never a Stone Roses fan. You a Stone Roses guy?
Nope. People have tried to get me in for years. It's fine. It never really vibed with me. It's I want to be adored song. So many women have tried to push that on me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I get it.
You're like, that's why it's over, bitch. I was just waiting for you to do this, and now it's over.
Oh, there it is. Stone Roses. Hit that Stone Roses.
Here's a woman that I hopefully will be united with in the hereafter, Selena, which is one of maybe the cakiest women of all time.
Are we going to skip past Regulate?
Oh, I mean, I can, but sure, we can talk about it. This
No,
song, the G-Funk, if you guys are like the quote unquote G-Funk era of hip hop where there's a Def Jam West and they sign all these people that are kin to Snoop Dogg. There's a documentary on YouTube about it called The G-Funk Era, and you can watch it. It's actually rather interesting. But Warren G, as a lot of people know, is Dr. Dre's half brother.
Yeah.
Or step brother.
One of those two. I can't remember. They're
And there was a group of Warren G, Nate Dogg, and Snoop Dogg, and they were called 213, and they modeled themselves, and you might not know this, Conan, from a group from Oakland called 415, because
even before the 510 area code.
That's right. Before the 510 area code, there was 415.
Yeah.
And 415 was one of my favorite rap groups as well.
Okay.
Richie Rich was in 415. They were just, kind of Oakland hip hop personified. They had a song called Sideshow, which is still a popular thing in the Bay Area. I see them, in other cities now, which I find interesting.
Yeah, it definitely was an Oakland thing first, though.
So Snoop Dogg says in that documentary, if you think I'm making it up, he goes, we modeled everything off of 415 from Oakland because we thought they were the coolest, hardest motherfuckers around. So yeah, have love for the G-Funk era, but it was music to barbecue too.
Oh, absolutely. And just since we haven't spoken one word about the actual song, I don't think this is a song that history would remember if not for Nate Dogg's contribution, which was something that you just didn't, you're starting to hear a little bit where you have like, all right, here's a dude rapping probably about some hard stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that song unfolds, which is kind of like a story,
yeah,
for better or worse,
it was
right?
a clear black night.
Yeah, like It's a pretty. So first of all, it's got the greatest beat. It's the regulators mount up, and then it gives you a definition of what a regulator is.
And what's that from, though? Do you know what that's from?
I
You know
don't.
what that's from?
I don't remember.
You're lying to me.
I don't know, like what the.
You're really
definition of it?
fucking with me today, aren't you?
I don't even from. What,
It's from
is he
Young
talking about,
Guns.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, they're the regulators. Mount up. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that movie since it came out. So my bad
I
on
went to the
that.
theater to see Young
Okay.
Guns 1 and 2.
So, this would just be another like gangster rap song, if not for Nate Dogg on here. Like Nate Dogg, who I just was like, I had never heard someone. I had never heard that combination of like the like Michael McDonald style, like vocals that with that, and it's an interesting song. Like, do I really care about Warren G? Not really.
I mean, they were taking.
It's fine.
The
But
G-Funk.
respect. That's a cool. It's a cool. It's a different application of the G-Funk thing, right?
If you hate yacht rock, but you like that, so it's like, look, these dudes just took yacht rock.
It's
samples.
just yacht rock over G-Funk beats. Exactly. That's
not in love anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't even slow it down,
No,
speed it
it's
up.
right there.
Here it goes. They're like, he hit a pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's notable, and I think it's worth mentioning because that's one of the ones where, again, I think Warren G is more of an asterisk in the world of that.
You know,
but
I watched Warren G at Bottle Rock, Conan, and I've never seen this before. So I was at Bottle Rock in the VIP, right? There's like multiple stages, right? So I was in the VIP hiding, I think, and I can't remember what year this was. And Warren G plays a couple songs in the VIP. It goes fucking nuts.
All right.
Then Warren G goes to another like side. No, he played before Snoop, I think. It was like Snoop, E40, and like Warren G.
Okay. Wow.
Insane, right? 1, 2, 3.
That's crazy.
So packed in this, and this was second stage. They weren't main stage, it was second stage.
Yeah.
They were so packed that vendors were mad. They're like, people can't even line up to get food. There's so many people here to watch this. Warren G then closed out the night with.
Can you stop bringing it so hard? We're trying to sell this popcorn.
Can you stop fucking killing us with this fucking music?
It's enough.
You're killing it right now.
We got hot dogs are trying to move here.
It was Bottle Rock, dude. So it's like sushi. It's like high sushi and shit. Anyway,
we regret the artisanal mac and cheese. There we
he
go.
ends the night, Conan, like DJing a silent disco thing or something.
Oh, where like you have it beamed to your AirPods or whatever.
Just killing, right? Killing. Everybody's like, Warren just killed it. And I was like, it was one of those things where I'm like, you know what? This dude is so many years into the business. And this is a testament to when you make good music, it stands the test of time.
And he knows what he does, right? And he knows he can. Again, it's knowing yourself, knowing the audience, and knowing what works. You know, good for him. That's awesome.
He then goes, he plays. Where were we? We were somewhere in the East Coast, like next week or 2 weeks later. Oh, they got him at 11 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
No one gives a shit. I was like, oh man, dude, you were killing it just like a couple weeks ago. Now you're playing in front of all these people that want to see like Little Xan and fucking, some guy that's gonna OD in 5 minutes.
Damn.
And nobody gives a shit about regulators. Broke my heart.
That is too bad, man. It's too bad. Nate Dogg died early too. I think they're like at 41 or something. That's sad,
Nate
man.
Dogg passed away. Again, we back to even Steve Albini. There's people that pass away from things that should be easily taken care of.
Yeah.
But
it was like a stroke
healthcare
or something, I think, if I remember correctly, which is it's fucked up.
It is sad because his voice, I'm glad you brought up the fact that his voice really was a unique one, because usually it's just, we're gonna throw a woman that'll gospel her way over the top of this.
Right.
And he brought something
it's totally different to it. Yes.
Kind of ominous.
Yeah, like it'd be something, and I'm not even fucking around when I say this. If he was still around, I'd be like trying to see what he's up to. Can I get him on a Secret Friends song? That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be killer, like he was on like I don't know, some lesser Eminem song. And it was
he was on an Eminem song.
I was like, he's really good. Like, really good. And it was good because of him. It kind of he elevated he was more known as a collaborator, but he elevated the things that he was collaborating with on. And that's what you should do as a collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
I just tried to do it with those guys in Dead. We'll see.
Oh
Jury's
yeah,
out.
yeah. How
But-
was that tour, by the way? Conan just got off the road playing guitar and not singing.
yeah, it was good. It's weird. I was just there to thrang that guitar and drive and wasn't worrying about anything else. And it was kind of like surreal for me. I'm not used to that. And then we
Different
recorded.
feeling, right?
And I think it's really cool. And it sounds a little bit like Conan Neutron and Secret Friends music, a little bit like Dead, and a little bit like something else entirely. We did some weird shit, and I'm excited for people to hear it. So, which
I
won't
don't
be
know.
anytime soon because it's not done yet.
I also want to talk a little bit about J. Rue the Damager.
Sure.
His second record in 1994, The Sun Rises in the East.
Uh-huh.
You Can't Stop the Prophet was a dope video. I wasn't the biggest J. Rue fan, but
Yeah.
I do remember his first record, and I definitely remember this record. And again, after 94, there is no more J. Rue. You know what I mean?
Not a big Wrath of the Math fan.
You just can't do it again. Like,
Yeah.
the moment is past. People don't really want to be that conscious and hear all the 5%er bullshit that was so popular for the last
Yeah.
couple years.
He did not get that demo though. He put out lots of records after that.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
still
he did.
trying, still kicking.
Marilyn Manson's first record.
Yeah, so I saw Marilyn Manson. So first of all, I fucked with this record, and
Okay.
I saw him on this tour with Clutch,
Ooh.
and he just looked like a serial killer. He didn't look like an alien yet. like he did not like he just and you know what? It was a really good show. That was awesome. And like Portrait of an American Family, from as far as what look, Marilyn Manson's kind of fraud. I almost rather like not talk about it, but I will say, like, as someone still in high school, just getting out of high school, I was right down the line for the vibes were correct for me. Let's put it that way. Also, I didn't realize it's not a very good song. It ends with a song called Misery Machine. I got a song called Misery Machine on Dark Passengers, and I just kind of forgot that existed. But our song's better than that song. So
There you go. You guys
Fuck
listen to a Neutron song, listen to Marilyn Manson song, have a contest, see who wins.
right.
Stereolab. Did you like Stereolab?
Stereolab's pretty good. I was never like a main person of Stereolab's thing, but ultimate respect for what they do and like vibe music for days. Like it's the right mood, the right party, the right setup, the right folks. Like it's the perfect thing you want to listen to.
That's a good. I like that scene you set. I'm not the biggest Bush fan, but they were a little heavier than I thought, than I remembered.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounded like we have Nirvana at home. You know what I mean? To me, like it was sort of like, I don't know. Maybe it's great. It's probably not though. Steve Albini recorded the record after that one, and apparently sounds great.
I'm still mad you said we have Nirvana at home.
Am I wrong? I mean, like, dude,
That's
like,
so mean. That's so mean.
I don't know what to tell you. Whatever. I mean, tell me I'm wrong, please. By,
You know-
by all means.
To me, nothing marks the end of the kind of boom bappy golden era of hip hop more than The Main Ingredient by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Not saying it's a bad record by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
It's just to me, it's not as good as the previous record, Mecca and the Soul Brother with They Reminisce Over You.
Yeah.
Great production by Pete Rock as usual.
By the way, mention in the comments, Gavin Rossdale had a great tribute to Steve Albini. By all accounts, he seems like a killer dude. Like he seems like just the best guy. It's just a shame about the music. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know.
Him and Gwen Stefani probably have a very nice house together. Wait, are they still married?
No.
I can't remember.
Nope.
I don't
Nope,
know.
nope,
They
nope.
probably did. I don't know. He's
I
probably
met
getting-
Gwen, and Gwen is like super nice.
That's cool.
Super fucking nice. I think I met like 2 or 3 No Doubt people that night, and they were all like genuinely decent individuals.
No doubt.
Slayer releases maybe one of their weakest records, Divine Intervention.
It's not great.
I think it's a record where they actually get 7-string guitars.
Yeah, it's not great. I didn't like it at all.
Friend of mine is Kerry King's tech,
Mhm.
and apparently there is one song from this record that they play. I can't remember which one it is. So he has to bring 1 7-string, and they hate it. He hates to switch out for that one. There's a Tom Petty album that
Not just a
people-
Tom Petty album, one of the greatest Tom Petty albums.
You think this is one of the greatest? Tom Petty
Wildflowers? Fuck yeah, I do. Fuck
Okay.
yeah, I do.
albums?
It's
Okay, you
great.
want to fight about it?
it's
They have
it,
an arm wrestling contest.
so it's not a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers record. It's a Tom
Mhm.
Petty solo. So there was Full Moon Fever and there's Wildflowers. There's actually a documentary about Wildflowers. I saw this shit on a plane. But like it's really good, really interesting. This is a Rick Rubin joint. And I think this is massively underrated as a record. Even within like Tom Petty, like there's so many great songs Tom Petty did. Like, and if you don't think that, if you got some like Wild Jihad Against the Man, all right, fine, whatever. I'm just saying that from a pure like songwriting perspective, there's some great Tom Petty songs, and this is amongst his best. And it's one of the reasons why, and there's a lot of reasons why, like they were sort of beefing with the drummer. He was a big pain in the ass, and so like this was just like there's a relaxed feel to this one that's
Yes.
really fucking cool.
That's a
And-
good call. Yeah.
And there's this, I highly recommend watching this documentary. I think it's called Somewhere You Feel Free. And it's worth watching, even if you're not a huge Tom Petty fan. It's just a really cool, it gives you a window into that world. And I think that this is a very kind of resolute and mature record, but he doesn't lose like what made it interesting. Like, you know, like that sort of passion that comes from like American Girl or whatever, any of the things like along those lines. And it's really good. And I highly recommend, if you haven't, if you're remotely interested in something that sounds like Tom Petty, give Wildflowers a listen again. It's a better record than you think it is.
Would you say that this is one of those things where he suffers from, I have such a large catalog and I have hits of a different
Yeah.
era?
People
that
thinking
you don't
people
listen
thinking
to- you
of
don't
Running
listen to
Down a
music.
Dream, that people are thinking of you know, like Don't Come Around Here No More. They're thinking about You Wreck Me. They're thinking about all these like well, You Wreck Me's on this one. I'm sorry, not You Wreck Me. But whatever. The point of fact is he has like 20 songs you could name. Everyone knows. They all been on radio. We all know these songs, you know. And I think you're right. Like it's like, oh yeah, there's people maybe know You Wreck Me on this one because I just mentioned it myself. But like they probably haven't listened to the record. You know, You Don't Know How It Feels was sort of like a minor hit. But it's just really good as a record. I was actually thinking about my own catalog recently, and now granted, I'm on some macrocosmic level, you know, not even remotely, you know, infinitesimally smaller than anything Tom Petty does. But what seems to happen is people will fixate on like one song from each record, and then they fuck with that song, and they like it, and like cool, awesome, and that's probably going to be in the set. But like, there's lots of other great songs too, and like, you know, for whatever reason, they just don't get the light of day in that same way. So think about that on a term of a cosmic level with Tom Petty, that this man dominated FM radio for years and years and years. Yet some of his coolest songs are like, they weren't on the radio, and they could have been. You know, it's sort of like just like, you know, pick a name out of a hat. All right, it's this one. This one's going up. And this is a perfect example of like, dude just made good rock records, well written, laid back rock records, laid back in this case, not always. And I don't know, man, like I've come around. It was actually Tony Ash who was like, have you listened to Wildflowers lately? I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, let's throw it on. And we were sitting in traffic in Indiana. I think we're on the way to go play Detroit. And I was like, God damn, this record's really good. Like, how did I forget about this? You know? So I wanted to give that a shout out because again, I revisited again after seeing this documentary. I was like, this is a really good record. And
Does this speak again to this time where also he's not the only older artist? Like you said, Pink Floyd has a record. This Rolling Stones have a record this year.
shit,
Black
look at Johnny
Sabbath.
Cash. Two down
Johnny
on the
Cash
list.
has a record this year.
Produced by the same bro, Rick Rubin.
Black Sabbath has a record this year, which
Yeah.
it has a different singer. I forget who the singer is by '94.
I think
But
they forgot.
it's not. I wish I could play it because you guys would be like, "That's Black, yeah, that's Black Sabbath."
It's not awesome.
That's not awesome.
And I say that as, you know, probably one of my favorite bands.
It's not awesome.
It's not.
Cannibal Corpse has The Bleeding in '94, which
Yeah.
is a cool record if you like death metal. Some of the titles probably aren't safe for work.
By the way, I just looked up. It's Tony Martin that was singing for Sabbath at that time. So
Not a fan of the Tony Martin years.
nope. It's not good.
Who's the dude that was from Rainbow that sang in Sabbath for like one album or two?
Fucking Dio.
No.
Well, Dio definitely sang
Deep
for some-
Purple is the guy from Deep Purple.
Oh, Deep.
Gillan? Is his name?
Ian Gillan. Yeah.
Yeah. Those
That was
are
better.
pretty those are decent records.
It's fine. You can do it.
But
If it wasn't
hearing
called
him-
Black Sabbath, I'd probably give it more credit. I hate to say it.
I
that way,
really
but-
like the fact that when Dio came back, when they were like kind of revisiting the Dio catalog, they just called themselves Heaven and Hell.
I thought that was actually the coolest fucking
Yeah.
move. I agree with you. I think that was really
That was super smart, dude. Call yourself Heaven and Hell.
because then people don't get mad that it's like, oh, you're not respecting Ozzy's name. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah, just
you know?
toured a billion shows with fucking Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Staggering on stage, and then you get to play these like awesome songs with Dio.
That Dio, we went over that Dio documentary in another one of these shows, but goddamn, that was a good documentary. It's heartbreaking.
Go watch the Dio documentary, get ready to cry, but then go back and listen to his solo work and listen to the stuff he did with Sabbath. I love Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. Mob Rules.
Yeah, that's if you don't think that's good music, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
Buddy Anarchist, he ain't no Mellencamp to Tom Petty. How dare you? How dare you say that to me?
Oof.
I assume that's Tom Petty.
so
that Johnny
he-
Cash record brought back his career, by the way. The first American recordings.
Yes.
That was like Johnny Cash was. We were like, oh, is he still alive? Is he
He was
still
one of
around?
those guys.
He
A
wasn't
lot of
even
the
our-
outlaw country guys, if they weren't locked up,
right. They had lock up.
or somewhere hiding out, those guys were effed up, and Johnny Cash was the king of being effed up.
And Rick Rubin brought him back, gave him amazing songs to sing, including one penned by Mr. Glenn Danzig. And
Is this the one?
this is the one. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's why I liked it.
And it's a freaking awesome song. Delia's Gone. that's like the old man version of like Cocaine Blues. It's a killer song, and there's a lot of people kind of lump all the American recording stuff together, and I mean they eventually just put it all in a box. I was like, yo, here it is. And it's all great, but this is the one that like I had this poster. I had this Subway poster because I still work in the record store, right? Like, hey, who wants this Johnny Cash?
The big
poster?
one.
Yeah. And I was
Ooh,
like,
that's
fuck
dope.
yeah. So I had him. You walk down the hallway, you had like Johnny Cash just looking like, hard as hell with that dog like over by like a
It definitely,
it looks cool as shit. Looks like it's
it
from a
made him
movie.
cool again to like rock dudes,
Oh, for sure.
because people have
100%.
forgotten him, and
Yeah.
he gets a second life as like just an American badass, whatever that means, right?
Yeah. Like,
So this is an important record for that, I think.
and yeah, that Subway poster was, I kind of wish I still had it, frankly, because it was pretty odd. But it was one of those things where like I moved somewhere it's much smaller. I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna put this. But it was cool because it was that record cover, and it's the coolest picture. It's again, Johnny Cash went from being, oh yeah, that guy, is he still around, to be like, this guy is one of the coolest dudes to ever do it.
I'm sad I'm missing all these comments, but we're trying to get through this. We're not going to go through the whole list. And again, it's not done yet, guys. It's not done yet, guys. It's not done yet, guys. Also, I went against my own best judgment, and I'll be honest. I put bands on here that are some of despicable people. I don't really dig a lot of the stuff Morrissey says. I definitely don't dig stuff that Varg from Burzum says.
Yeah.
I don't dig Mayhem. So there's artists on here that I don't dig as people. I just put everything up from 94. I decided, kind of like when I'm in Vegas, either you're going to hit on 15 or you're going to stay on 15, and that's the way you have to be. So
it's so fraught to try to even attempt to talk about Morrissey musically, but the more you ignore me, the closer he gets a good song. That's doesn't mean I'm endorsing anything Morrissey's ever said or done, but like, it's one of the Post Smith songs I actually kind of like.
I didn't know you had, like, I posted, I thought this was the funniest thing ever. And Saturday Night Live a few years back did a thing with Natalie Portman where she's doing a rap about people that don't like the Star Wars.
I saw you said that. I was like, that was funny as hell. I saw that.
And someone sent a comment like, dude, she's a Zionist. And I was like, I didn't say that Natalie Portman needs to be listened to.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, I thought this was funny. Like, apparently she doesn't like what's going on with Israel and Palestine.
It doesn't. It was hilarious.
Had you not said that, I wouldn't have known that she was Jewish.
Get a grip.
I didn't know anything about her, and I didn't go out and buy Natalie Portman merchandise.
Yeah.
I just thought that one thing was funny.
Exactly.
I may think things are funny. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with 70% of the stuff George Carlin says.
Shit, I don't even agree with 70% of the stuff you say. I just on the show.
So you know what I mean?
God
Like,
damn, you're looking for someone to agree with 100% of your views.
you're not going to
Good
find it. You're not going to
fucking
find
luck.
it.
Good
You are
luck.
not going to find it. So if you want to cancel me over, and this person didn't want to cancel me. We laughed about it later, but go for it. I guess I don't.
Yeah,
I'm saying it on the record. Like, I don't really dig a lot of the shit Morrissey says, but I'm not going to say I don't dig.
I like to
as
see
now.
you try. Yeah.
Right? Like, fucking, I'll put on Smith shit. I almost got a Smith's t-shirt the other day at that store.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that place in TJ where you can get like all the rock shirts that we could never get? They're bootleg as fuck.
Oh, I love that.
Name a band, but don't name a band like there's like, name a band that they would have a shirt of.
Yeah. They got it. Huh?
Dude, they had fucking
How about
Smith shirts and Morrissey
shirts. That says
Christian Death shirts and fucking
word.
Front 242 shit. I'm like, who the fuck has this stuff?
Gotta go replenish my t-shirt collection. My real ones are all decaying and threadbare. So
I'm trying to think of what I could get you that wouldn't get you beat up in your scene though.
Look, ain't nobody beating me up. Are you kidding me? Like,
I don't want to get you jumped by like
someone comes at me in a dream, they better wake up and apologize, to paraphrase Reservoir Dogs.
Dude, can you imagine?
You better come with the whole goddamn gang. It ain't happening, friend.
Can you imagine if you were just loading in with a Smith shirt?
Hey!
You start loading in like San Francisco with the fucking Smiths. What's another band people would like fucking just kill you over?
No, but people wouldn't. Do people even care about that anymore? This isn't like the 90s.
You know what? There's only one way to find out, and I feel very great to do that.
What's the softest bullshit? Yanni shirt. I'm wearing a Yanni shirt. People just see what's ironic though. Irony.
You don't think it was ironic? No, if you're wearing a Smith shirt,
yeah,
they know this guy.
Someone's gonna want to walk up and talk about Morrissey's whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're a fascist, huh?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
No, but have you heard how soon is now?
It's tiresome as fuck now.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, dude, Johnny Marr's guitar, brother. Johnny Marr's guitar.
Yeah, I'm not. You have to like put like a postscript on the back of the shirt. I do not agree with Morrissey's political beliefs. Yeah. It's the world we live in. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I think even if I gave you a Michael Jackson shirt, still they would look at it as irony.
Probably.
I couldn't. I did see a Puffy shirt, but I couldn't because you don't even like Puffy. I don't like Puffy.
I hate that shit. I've never like that.
Yeah.
It would have to be something I actually liked, and like I'm trying to. What would be?
What's the most problematic thing?
Yeah, the problematic fave thing. I don't know. I can't think of anything. Nothing that like springs to mind. Yeah, I don't know. I'd really have to think about it. And
you know what Faith No More shirt they had? King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime shirt.
Nice.
King for a Day shirt. I haven't seen one of those probably since the 90s.
Cows had that record Pistica, which is like the peace symbol, like that's sort of like if you're like, oh, I see what that is. But that's just like, I mean, the Cows are great, and like the shirt rocks. It's just like people engage with art differently now.
Oh, did you ever like any Ted Nugent?
No.
Okay.
Never.
I would love to get you a Ted Nugent shirt.
Fuck no, wouldn't wear it.
I never.
He has like 4 songs, and they were like 1,000 years ago.
I don't like Cat Scratch Fever. I was like, I get it. There's guitars.
Stranglehold's pretty good. That's about as good as it gets.
I'll have to go back. Someone said a Gary Glitter shirt.
Ooh, that's gonna get you on a list. Is what that's gonna get.
Hey, I did put. I purposely.
That's what they said when they busted his ass for.
Yeah,
you know what?
he was diddling. R. Kelly isn't technically on this list, but Aaliyah is. This is her first record, Age Ain't Nothing. I didn't know. This is how dumb. Again, 16 years old, right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, and I don't remember music journalists really talking about this. R. Kelly writes that record. You know what it's called? Age Ain't Nothing.
Age Ain't Nothing but a number. I do remember that. Yes.
Do you know what the title track is about? The title track is about a young girl
Yeah.
Aaliyah was 13. Seducing a grown man
Yeah.
that he wrote.
Yeah. Not
He was
great.
telling us in 94.
Not great, folks.
We didn't listen.
Yeah. He was telling
didn't
on
listen.
himself.
Helmet.
Betty, underrated record. Probably in my opinion, the last great Helmet record. I had a great episode.
You didn't like the record after? The record after is the big one for them.
No, it was Meantime. That was before that.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just about to say, and if you want to hear more about that, listen to that classic Proton Controversial episode.
You talked
me
with
and Paige Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's great. He told the Crover put me up to it. But he told the story about him touring with Bowie. There's a clip of it.
You did make a clip of that. I'm glad you made a clip of that. It's actually pretty funny. I never heard of a band called the Silver Jews until
Silver Jews. And the Silver Jews are pretty well loved. I knew a dude who played with that fella, Dave Berman, and I think he even played in Silver Jews for a while. But yeah, I respect. It wasn't really an important band to me or anything, but respect. People can get mad at me because I just said I respect it instead of I don't like it. But
go ahead.
I was gonna say, did we miss Soundgarden? I think Soundgarden was really early on, right? Super Unknown is that's 94 for sure.
94. I do have a Soundgarden on here.
Yeah. It's the thing is,
like Suicide.
They Spoon Man and Black Hole Sun were ubiquitous as songs. Right?
Conan sent me a message for 94 and he goes, this is a big year. It's Dookie. it's a Super Unknown. He goes, no Black Hole Sun, no Spoon Man. And you said no. Did you say no Welcome to Paradise? Or what is that? Basket Case? Is that the Green Day song?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you said no Basket Case, and that was it.
Yeah, so we recently, not even that recent, I guess it's a few years ago, we on tour we were listening to, I was like, let's listen to Super Unknown, because I remember it being like a good record that was very long.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a long ass drive, right? And first of all, there's like 15 songs on there with no bonus tracks. It's 70 minutes long. 70 minutes long. So this is like peak like 90s. We can put how much music on a CD? Hell yeah.
And they maxed it.
out. Yeah. I never need to hear Black Hole Sun again. I never need to hear Spoon Man again. And I usually skip them when I listen to this record, which still makes the record about 60 minutes long. I am telling you right now, with peace and love in my heart, that Super Unknown is one of the better records of the 90s. And I've come back around to that after revisiting it. First of all, 4th of July is one of the hardest, heaviest songs you've ever heard. It's so good. Day I Tried to Live should have been a hit. It's like 3 times the song is like fucking Spoon Man. It's a fantastic record. It's my favorite Soundgarden record. I used to be like, yeah, Soundgarden's pretty good. I dig Rusty Cage and like, what was the other one in Bad Motorfinger? I was excited to put it this way. When I saw them at Lollapalooza, I was excited to see them. Mm-hmm. And then they played a bunch of those snoozy ass like Beatles songs off of Down on the Upside, and I got bored and I wandered around. But Super Unknown's really good. Like this is like try.
When does Jesus Christ Pose? Is that the record?
That's the one before Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah.
Outshine is amazing, but yeah.
That chorus, when that chorus comes in, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about when that chorus comes in.
And I will say this, Down on the Upside is a great album. It just live, it wasn't exciting because what I really wanted to hear was, I wanted to hear the fucking more Rauka stuff because of course I was young as shit, right? And I am telling you right now, if you're like, oh, Black Hole Sun though, I don't want to hear it. Spoon Man, I don't want to hear it. Skip those 2 songs. It's still plenty long, and it is rock solid as a record. I feel like it is their best record, and I think that there's a lot of stuff to love throughout all of Soundgarden. Like I basically re-examined Soundgarden because we had that like, oh yeah, let's listen to like this overbloated record and like just opine on it while we're doing this drive. Really, really good. I suggest if you've never listened to it, I don't know how you must have. If you didn't have a television, you saw Black Hole Sun was like everywhere, and Spoon Man was not that far behind it. But re-listen to that record, and tell me I'm wrong. That like you listen to it's like fuck, like this is just like on that Creedence Clearwater Revival Beatles tip of like, wow, every one of these could have been like a hit in an alternate universe. Like this is crazy how good this is, and then Down on the Upside is just it's more mellow, and like I didn't want to hear that from them every time. That's really what it comes down to. It's still good. Are the songs good? Fuck yeah, they're good. Was I want to hear it? Fuck yeah, I did not.
And 94 is a massive year for them. They're finally a official headlining band.
Yeah, they're ruling the game, and I definitely. So basically, doing something along these lines and going back and critically analyzing things, because I was thinking about one of the salient examples of putting too much goddamn music on a CD just because you could. Like it could have been 2 records. Probably is if they release an LP, it probably is 2 records just from length alone. But
Maybe. Yeah.
It is a great record that people should either visit for the first time or revisit. Feel free to skip Black Hole Sun and or Spoonman.
A record to skip altogether, I thought was Everything But the Girls, Amplified Heart. They are not a electronic band yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a 2-piece still, but the trip hop sound.
What people think of as being like what that band is,
which is Walking Wounded. Like Everything But the Girls has been around since like the 80s.
Yeah.
And you're not getting Walking Wounded.
Yeah, Walking Wounded is like 96, I think, right?
Yeah. I listened to that record probably 7,000 times.
Yeah.
I love Walking Wounded.
Yeah, Amplified Heart is
I love that album cover for Walking Wounded. It's really simple, but I thought it was so cool.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm a nerd, dude.
They're in the that's when they're in the car.
They're in the car. It's just
that's a good album cover.
It's an overblown shot of them.
Yeah. I feel like you see that kind of shit a lot now, but like back then it was pretty.
Back then I was like, "Ooh, who is this?" I had never heard of them.
Yeah.
I actually had a couple bucks.
Yeah.
And I was in maybe Leopold's.
All right.
And it was in a used thing in Leopold's back when you would like, buy the CD, burn it, and return it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I bought it just off the cover, and it's the first song is Walking Wounded, and I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah.
I think I bought Inner City Life that same day, which is I can't think of the Goldie. Wow. Yeah.
A couple things that I've been very remiss in paying attention to the chat. Dan Arquez saying, is it more difficult to make quality music than in the past? No, it is not. It's more difficult to get it in front of people because there's just so much more music out there. But I would absolutely.
I think it's different.
It's everything is very different.
What do you think is okay? You and I again, Conan and I, same age. We're both making music around the same time.
Yeah.
For me, these are the differences for me. Number one, you had to go to a place that had recording equipment,
which I still do.
Recording equipment was also expensive.
Yeah.
Even a 4-track recorder.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, I think it's easier to get your music out locally than it is trying to get it out through the internet. That's just me.
Interesting.
It's different.
Locally meaning like what? Like playing like local shows and stuff.
Playing locally.
I don't do any of that shit, so I wouldn't know.
Playing locally at a time before the internet where people just went to places.
People rarely
just
go to places anymore to go like see music, and that's a shame. And that's why like when there are places like that, they kind of have to be treasured. Additionally, the art of the album is alive and well, but the album as a promotional vehicle is dead in the water.
Dead.
So you have to like, if you're making a record, you're making a record for the true heads. This goes back to what I was saying about Tom Petty being at the cosmic level of my macrocosmic level of people pay attention to maybe 1, maybe 2 songs a record, maybe. And it's not even necessarily the ones that you want them to too. It's just that's just and that is the fucking way it is. And you can be mad at it, or you can just be like, look, I just love making this stuff. I love the art of making records. I'm making the records for the people that's for, just like I made these split singles for the people that it's for. I love the process. So for me, it's all a success because I love the process. And I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And I'm pushing myself and we're all pushing each other. And, like we're in a situation where, look, I keep bringing up Chat Pile, right? My buds in Chat Pile. Great. When I first played with them, it was like, these are some nice Oklahoma boys playing like some good noisy rock. Right on. Like that. That's good to see. There's a good band in Oklahoma City. Great. I can play Oklahoma City and know there's going to be a good band. And then they just struck a chord on a major level that like connected with kids like everywhere worldwide. And that's amazing. And are they good? Yes, they're good. But it's like there's a lot of bands that are good. Why did it happen with them? I don't know. It seems like happenstance more than anything else. But like they also are fellas that they've been around the block. They've been in bands before, and they know that all that stuff can go away in a heartbeat. And they treat it with such aplomb and elegance and critical thinking that it really is cool to see. And I am genuinely stoked when I see them playing like Roadburn to like a crowd of thousands or whatever, and like playing these huge shows. Like dude from Sepultura is like opening for them. Like I'm,
That's crazy.
I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome. That because that's the kind of thing that used to. I feel like that was an average Tuesday in the '90s. When we were in high school.
That's what's so crazy about like when again you talk about what's the difference is like also too you have to be in a room with people.
Yeah.
And there were more rooms you could be in with people, and you're going to meet other people. You're going to be influenced by the sounds of said room as well. Yeah.
That's kind of what I hate to turn it back on myself, but that's kind of what we do with Caterwall, right? Is it like, hey, if you only were to go like one thing all year, if you went here, you would see so much quality music, be around your people that are into all this weird ass stuff, just like you could strike up a conversation with some random person, have a great time, make a friend for life. And all of that is like, look, we are not trying to make money on it. It's not a charity operation either, but like if we were trying to make money on it, that would look wildly different. And we purposely keep it the way it is because we need more places like that. Especially in this alleged freedom. Everyone keeps saying, how free everything is. And like, oh, isn't it great that, like blah, blah, blah. The gatekeepers are gone. No, man, gatekeepers are still there. They're just different than they used to be.
They look very different. What happens when you don't have mass culture is the better question. And I don't think these people are asking that question. They're rolling it back to something different to make it about individual taste.
That's exactly what, because right now we're celebrating the individual without celebrating the needs of the individual is what it comes down to. But there is, so this idea of like, mass culture, monoculture, whatever you want to call it, what happens when it's gone? Well, we're finding out now. It's been replaced completely by easily marketable capitalistic notions of what we can do to extract value from people. You
get Muzak, right? You get Taylor Swift, and then you get the politics of nothing. So it's like, we're going to do, a few months, or maybe it was a month ago. Maybe it was a week ago. I don't know. Time moves different post-COVID. But remember there was that whole like unfollow celebrities. Oh and kind of back to giving a shit about Natalie Portman. I don't know anything about Natalie Portman because I don't give a shit.
She was fantastic in May December. I tell you that much. She was up against Julianne Moore, and she acted the fuck out of that role and looked great.
And that's what you should care about.
Yeah.
But when you're like, I'm going to unfollow these people because they don't have the right stance or they haven't said anything, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Have they said what happened to that whole movement? Did Chris Hemsworth all of a sudden come out with his Palestinian flag and leading protests?
Like people put so much fucking energy into this, and it doesn't matter. No part of this matters. Like, and this goes back to what I was talking about, right? In the absence of justice, people will settle for catharsis every time.
I did.
All you're getting.
Can I get my
all
props?
you're getting? Yeah, you
can I get my props for quoting you though, Conan?
You think
I will always give you your props for that.
It's amazing. Like I feel like I'm constantly like spitting out like awesome stuff and doing awesome stuff, and I very rarely get like, you know what? Dave Lombardo, when I had Lombardo on, all the metal magazines, all sourced, they linked, they said what I was like, thank you. Can you please tell these punk rock fuckers what's up? Because everybody's like, a podcast said, hey, you know what? A newspaper said, fuck you. How fucking dare you?
It's again, I think you get the politics of nothing. Right?
Yeah,
because when everyone becomes trapped in that bubble, constantly looking at that mirror of themselves, wondering why they don't, the world's not reacting to what I want. It's like, dude, your world is like yay big.
Yeah, we've elevated everybody's opinion to be unique and special, and the most important thing. And it isn't. It just isn't. And I think everybody needs like a break from all this connection, because it's connection without any empathy. And like you end up in these situations where people don't even know why they're doing all these things that make them feel terrible.
Someone said something very nice. Ayatollah of Krat Rock and Rolla. For those, also for those in the chat who somehow don't know, check out Conan Neutron. and the Secret Friends and Bitter Lake. So
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
It means a lot. It means a lot.
Yeah, we did
I got my second payout this month, Conan. Never had.
Oh,
two
word.
payouts.
Awesome.
It equals $20.
I was gonna say you're gonna buy gonna buy a pizza with that? Yeah.
Oh, here? That's 2 pizzas, brother.
Yeah, it's 2 pizzas. You're right.
2 wood-fired pizzas. So, you come down here, I'll take you out next time I get paid.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make you now. You can get extra toppings.
Hey, put something else on there for me so I just got paid. You don't know me? You don't know me? Bitter Lake. Bitter Lake.
Right.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, we got 2 songs over 1,000 plays. I get paid for them.
Yeah.
It's me.
Oh man,
Yeah.
like when I think I told you when fucking the orange one started saying quid pro quo literally every day. Like that song's gonna get like 20,000 plays because people are
Are
looking
you
for
being
that term.
serious?
I'm totally
You
serious.
tell me that.
I got us like $100 or something. I don't remember what it was, but like instantly it was like 1 gas tank worth of press.
Like when people say, people always ask me,
Only
like,
on Spotify though, nothing else, just Spotify.
yeah, just Spotify. I get surprisingly plays on Pandora.
Oh really? Okay.
I'm not
cool.
complaining, right? But someone, sometimes people will ask me, they're like, well, what do
I
you
tell
think
you, I've been-
Spotify steals from artists? I was like, dude, no one was gonna play me before. If you didn't come to the fucking show, you didn't know
You
I
never know.
existed. So now you know I exist. I have no problem with them. People complaining about that shit are full of shit, and you tell them I said it.
Right.
Tell
Can I just tell
them
you, I was
said it.
wondering all show why I was pointing the wrong direction when I was looking. I was mirroring my camera, right? And I had it on for some reason. And I only know because I was like, oh yeah, I got my logo behind me. I was like, shit, why is it backwards? And like, but it was bothering me that I was like looking that way. And I'm like, why am I looking? It looks like I'm like not paying attention to what's happening. But anyway, whatever. Podcast people are gonna be like, what the hell is this man talking about?
But let's see. Here we go. Let's go.
Oh yeah, back
more.
to the show. Sorry, that was
Yeah. Back to a few more. I didn't discover. I was late on Jeff Buckley. I was late on Failure. I'm not afraid to admit that. Conan is not like Failure. I really like this Magnified record and this song Undone.
Yeah,
I dig it.
I've come around. I see what people would dig about them. Like I definitely I tried with that band for a while and I was just like not so into it. And
Mhm.
for whatever reason, then I tried again. I wasn't so into it, and I'm more getting it now. And actually, Ken Andrews there's a great episode for Controversial that when the Wild Type Road come out 2021. Yeah, we really went deep on all that stuff, but yeah, I think is Magnified, right? Is that one? I can't remember what's on that.
Magnified. Yep.
Yeah,
With the frog on the cover.
yeah. I think I kind of. It took me a long time to come around to them. Fantastic Planet came out when I worked at the record store, and
It's like 96, 97, right?
right, a little bit later. Yep. I dig them. I'm not going to go to war for Failure. I think they're really interesting and cool, and I respect what they do a lot. And I get why people will go to war with them and for them. But yeah, I dig it more than I used to. Let's put it that way.
They're another one of these bands that I think Conan mentions it early on, where people are getting deals that are kind of a little more non-traditional, I guess.
Yeah.
In the post Seattle band signing era, and these are guys that still, if they're coming to your town to play, it's not a big room.
No, small room.
Yeah.
And they're so one of the things I've come to appreciate about Failure, that I just in general have come to appreciate as my growth of an artist and a human being, is that they have their own compass, they have their own map, and they are doing exactly the thing it's meant to be doing. And I really appreciate that in a way that maybe I wouldn't have when I was 17. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, like interesting, but never boring. Failure, like, and they're always like,
that's a good synopsis.
So see that old Controversial with Ken Andrews. We went into the whole catalog, including this record as well. But it took me a while, man. I was not into it when it came out.
Prince has one of the records that people don't remember. Come, COME, but still, you know what he meant. It's Prince.
I don't remember anything about that record other than the fact that it came out.
Prince released a lot of records because he didn't. How can I say this? There's a cycle that you go on when you release a record, even at Conan and I's level.
Yeah. Now
Conan can't go out and tour on a
Right.
4-year-old record.
No.
Because you're gonna hit so many of the same places. They're gonna say, "Oh, I saw that already."
We've seen it.
right? So you have to record a new record.
Yeah.
And that's literally justifies you being out of your house. If you're still touring on the same record, it's because you're trying to hit new markets. Maybe, and when I say tour, I mean you're getting in and you're going from California to New York.
Yeah, you're making a big part of your life. Exactly.
Yeah, you're going out on it, because if you haven't gone all the way to all the markets, then you can tour for 4 years on a record.
Yeah.
But if you have at this advanced age, you found what works for you, what makes sense physically, as far as maybe it doesn't make sense to go cross country. I'm going to hit this Midwest region up and I can go back to California.
Yeah.
You have to have a new record every time.
Why are we playing the West Coast twice in 1 year? Well, guess why?
Yeah.
Right. But also, we're trying to hit up New York. We're trying to hit up DC. We're gonna do an East Coast run in the fall. We just did a bunch of stuff with Part Chimp in the Midwest, and it's like one of those things where I'm sitting on the new record because technically speaking, we're still in this adult prom cycle, right? So it's like one of those things where it's like, well, it'd be wasteful just to throw it out there because people think it doesn't matter at a small level. It fucking matters.
It super matters. It super matters at a small level. So Prince is one of those people that's like, I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
And when he did Purple Rain, which again, #1 movie at the box office, #1 record.
Right.
No one's ever done that. And he does that and he goes, all right, I'm all about Around the World in a Day. And the label's like, no. You haven't hit up all the European markets that you just went platinum in with Purple Rain.
Yeah,
we have to send you back and we got to go to Asia. He goes, I'll go to Asia on Around the World.
Right.
That's why those records, as massive as they seem, didn't sell as much. Michael Jackson tours on Thriller, So Long, Presidents Change.
That's how you know it was a hit, right? Well, and that's something that, like, okay, so let's say one of my albums like hit big, like that, where it's like, hey, you need to like go everywhere and like play this music on people. I'd be fine with that. I'd be totally great with that because I love every record that we do dearly. And it's there's so much care and attention put into it, which one of the reasons I get mad at when people, they're just sharing like shitty YouTube links from somebody's, Android shitbox from like the back of the club. Sounds like, horrible audio. It's like, I make these records and it's like, there's so much care and attention put to them that the idea is at the end of every one, it's like, I'd be fine if this is the last one I ever make. Like if I, get hit by a bus or something, I don't want to be, but I'd be fine if that was the case. Like, I'd feel like I'm doing okay. And I know there's lots of cautionary tales about bands that get stuck like being on the cycle for a record and it's just like the worst thing ever and they hate it and they hate life and it breaks up the band in some cases. And like, that sounds terrible, but that's not what would happen with me. I'm just built different.
That's interesting you say that. It's a really interesting you say that. Me and Cindy had a record. I think there's a picture of it behind me.
Yeah.
Clarity Amongst the Rubble is what it's called. And I felt that way when we did that if this is the last thing we ever do, I'm very proud of this thing because this is like all the, you don't want to say the cliche stuff, but this was like every emotion we were feeling.
Yeah.
We went around the country
a lot. You were touring like Black Flag, man.
We did 6 times without stopping, 4 months straight before the band, before the second band died. So we went 6 times when we died in Bismarck, North Dakota. And I was more than happy to play on that record, but I didn't know if I was ever going to do anything else ever again after we did that. And then we did. Well, we didn't actually. We, for whatever reason, we didn't. But I'm very comfortable that for people that saw us live, that was the last thing they saw live. That was
right. Yeah. It's better than being like, I wish it would have been this one.
Yeah, I wish. Oh fuck, Actually, I hit my stride on the next.
I've unfortunately. Well, have I been there? No, not really. I guess, but I mean, there's definitely like, oh, it would have been cool if it would have been like when you started hitting on that deep stuff, like later on.
Well, because you had your youth with Replicator, but you also get to have your kind of mature adult years with. Yeah. I feel like you and Tony have become the bestest of friends.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And watching you guys together is actually kind of a thing of beauty. So I love it. I love what you're doing right now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's goes far beyond a bandmate relationship at a certain point. It's like shared brain, you know.
This is the sad part also about like older dudes. Like I'm sad Chris couldn't make it on here from Machine Head, but Chris is playing in Forbidden now with another longtime friend of his, Craig LaCicero, who, you know, original member of Forbidden. And to see these guys playing together again at a bit of an advanced age, they're doing festival shows overseas and stuff like that, and killing it. You know, we forget that old dudes still kill it.
Oh, all the time. When I saw the MC50 and Wayne Kramer with Kim from Soundgarden and Billy from Faith No More and Brendan from Fugazi, and that man had the energy of like a 20-year-old. I was like, this man's my dad's age, and he is
killing it,
fucking killing the game.
Like everybody you name there is pretty old for Billy, but Billy's not a young man; he's in his 50s.
Yeah. No, and like Wayne was just like ruling it. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is like, I never saw the MC5. How could I have? I was born in 77, but like, but
long gone.
But I felt like I kind of saw it, you know, like, and that's ain't that just the most wonderful thing? And that's why we're in a situation where all this music that was considered youth music, like it isn't anymore. But that doesn't mean it's invalid. It doesn't mean it has to change because of these stupid ageist norms that we've applied on it from a marketing perspective, really. By the way, so many super chats. I don't know if you seeing these, like people want to
I'm about to, because I want to end the show because we've been going for 3 hours. It's late for you. I know I don't want to talk too much about your private life, but you do not live alone, so
it's true. We do have plans later today.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to hear anything from your significant other who doesn't know me personally, so I'm not trying to get a message with
she would let you know.
Yeah, I just, you know, I'd rather get a hey, how you doing than can you please,
exactly.
You know, this is not what I had planned today, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Dizzle McFizzle has a super chat. Are the Untouchables the greatest ska band of all time, or is it time to repo their credibility, man? Because they're in Repo Man. We watched Repo Man last night. And Alex Cox is coming on the show, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. Moving Extravaganza did Repo Man, but it was without me. So
therefore, it was without you?
Yeah, it was before I started regular on the show.
Do it again.
That's kind of what we're talking about. Like I'm like, there's no, I mean, I haven't listened to the episode, but whatever. I'm sure.
I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. I have my opinions. Producer voice. Tell me, kid, are the hoes loyal?
That is way back when, but yeah, absolutely. Well done.
Well, Conan is with a very loyal one.
Right. Yes.
I hope she's not watching. Again, I do not want to get any. I've got messages in my inbox.
I'm sure,
and I don't want to get any.
I'm sure. What's your guys' take on Slowcore? Lowe's debut came out in '94. We did talk about that, and I talked about how they did the Misfits version of Words, which is amazing. Codine's White Birch was '94 as well.
Codeine is on the list.
Codeine is on the list. I love Codeine. I kind of they're back and playing shows. I kind of spaced out and missed it, which is crazy because I saw Brokaw when McCluskey played in Chicago. We didn't play that show. Ganser did, but like Martha's Vineyard Fairies did as well with Bob from Shellac, and like Brokaw plays in Codeine, and like I was like, oh, I fucking love Codeine. Yeah, I gotta remember to see that, and I didn't put it on my calendar. I forgot all about it. Cool, what a success story. But I love that stuff. Low Codeine, I love that stuff's great. That's it. I mean, I've got no problem with any of that. I think slowcore is one of the dumbest genre names I've ever heard, but like I love it.
I hate core on the back of anything.
Core.
If you don't have a breakdown, you can't call it core.
Right. I literally was like slowcore, like Melvin's.
Yeah, I was like I saw something about
Flipper.
Slowcore,
is Flipper slowcore?
There's no breakdown, dude. No core.
I literally didn't know what people were talking about. It's like, well, why is it core? Like I think of hardcore, right?
Yeah, right.
Like that's
there's a breakdown, right?
You.
You're gonna have a breakdown,
right?
You know. Let's fucking turn this pit out. No,
let's turn this pit out at 60 beats per minute.
Is everybody sitting down? You sure?
Good. You about to fall asleep up here?
Motherfucking crisscross applesauce in this bitch.
From Stevie, we would reenact the Sabotage video during recess. That's a great video.
That
That is an
I can see
all-timer
Netflix
video.
doing
Spike
that,
Jones, if I
yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah,
That is
that's a good video to do
that
that.
song is great, and that video is awesome.
Can't stand it when the fan- You know why the Beastie Boys were all over the place in Berkeley? We had the XL store. Remember the XL store?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you fucking worked there. Yeah,
I
you remember the
fucking
XL
worked
store.
right there. Yeah, dude.
Were you at Leopold's?
No. I was at Tower Records. So
So do- but do
Leopold's
you
was
remember when
next
Da-
door.
Do you
Leopold's
remember
was,
when Dell worked there?
Yeah.
The fucking Homo sapien. Were you there when Dell worked there? Or were you?
Yeah, I
gone?
didn't know him, but yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
Oh, dude, we thought that was the coolest thing. We used to go try to hang out with him. Poor guy was just trying to like take people's bags.
Yeah, I mean, like all that, and then eventually Tower moved into the Leopold's building. That was
Yeah.
after my time though.
That was a sad day. Has love been shown for Possum Kingdom by Toadies? Toadies are on the
They are on the
I believe.
list. Can I tell you? So after, well, I didn't see you. I saw Burgess on the March
came out to
shows
LA,
with
yeah.
McCluskey. I busted his balls from from stage 2, which is pretty funny. That's a different story. Actually, but Chris Wade from Chapo was there. Dan was there. There's a bunch of like podcasts.
Burgess said it was like podcast.
Yeah, it was
podcast
crazy. I was like,
concert. Yeah.
oh yeah. I think I was like, oh yeah, most bands have a mosh pit breakout, and this time it's gonna be a podcast for us. Podcast
Again, is everybody sitting down and engaged?
Everybody check their levels. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling that story is that on the drive up to the SF show, we were talking about the Toadies because one of Mindy Jorgensen, who plays drums with us live, her drum students, she teaches drums for a living, and one of her drum students is starting a Toadies tribute band. I was like, oh, interesting, cool. And then I mentioned the fact that like I saw them with the Butthole Surfers in the 90s, and I like all I knew is they had that huge hit. I'm like, and you could tell who was there to see whom, right? We were like, all right, if you're a little teeny bopper, you're there for Toadies. If you're like some unemployable freak, then you're there for Butthole Surfers. And but then I heard like later on, I was like, oh no, those guys are like scene scions. Like they did so much for like the Texas punk rock world, and they've like been in it. All their records are good. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And I've just like never really followed up for whatever reason. So I was like, all right, we're driving up the Grapevine. It's like, let's freaking listen to that Toad Rubberneck, right? And I was like, I'm gonna listen to this. I'm gonna give this a fair shot. And you know what? It's a good record. I was like, this is a good record. If I heard this apropos of nothing, all I know is that, do you want to die? I only knew that song because it was, again, everywhere, ubiquitously, along with, Black Hole Sun and all that, everywhere on the MTV. And I kind of explored some more, and I was like, God, this band's actually pretty good. And I've been short selling them for like a long time. Then it turns out my friend Zach Blair, who played in Hagfish with his band Donnie. He also played in Guar, and he plays in why can't I think of their name? They're like a huge band. Hold on, Rise Against. He plays in Rise Against.
Okay.
And his brother Donnie has been the bass player for Toadies for like 15, 16 years, something along those lines. He's not the first bass. He wasn't around when they had that big MTV hit, but he's like been in the band like the longest, right?
Are the Toadies from Virginia?
No, they're from Texas. And I had him on the show too, and we talked about it. And like I actually did something I rarely do on that show. Is actually I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna listen to the rest of this back catalog. I'm gonna really like get down deep in it. And fucking good band. And I was wrong for like years to like short sell them as a one-hit wonder because like they are really good. And I would totally like next time they come through, will probably go see them. There's nothing else to say hi to Donnie, but like I was wrong about Toadies. There's something there, and I assumed it was a much lesser thing than what it actually was. So that is the love I am showing to Possum Kingdom by Toadies, which retroactively this spring I can tell you is a good record. That like,
there you go. That's Conan's mea culpa for being a young douche, and we all were young douches.
We all, man, shit.
I'm not afraid to say that, like, I start the show off talking about why I thought Jeff Buckley sucked.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit, this is great.
Yeah, sorry, you weren't the guy from that sang "How Do I Talk to an Angel." Sorry. Rest in peace, Gary Young, who recorded Plant Man in 1994.
Yeah, Gary Young, Stockton legend.
Oh, word.
The original drummer for Pavement. he in the 80s, a lot of people don't know much about Gary Young. That guy like booked Dead Kennedys and Circle Jerks and Black Flag to go play Stockton. Like he was older, like and this man saw all these teenagers making this weird ass music. Is like, hey, I'll play drums for you guys. And he's just like this old freak. Is like, oh, that's the guy that books all the crazy shows. And to his credit, and he also had a band called Hospital too, which was pretty entertaining. To his credit, he was way older than all these guys, right? Very unique drummer. That's the way was he a great drummer? I don't know about that, but unique drummer. But what he was a great human being who did a lot of good for the world of Central Valley music. And Pavement, as we know them, would not exist without Gary Young seeing these talented ass kids who couldn't find a drummer because they were too like out of the zeitgeist and the mainframe, seeing something of value with them and bringing what he did to them. So R.I.P. to Gary Young. We speak your name.
Hide and Seek 7-inch by Brian Jonestown's Massacre came out in 94. Speaking of that band, did either of you guys ever have any run-in with Anton or any other member of that group when you lived in the Bay Area? Knowingly, no. Conan?
Yeah. One of the guys, not the main dude who I think follows me on Twitter, but I don't even know because I never look at Twitter anymore. But the other guy that like features large in that documentary, that Dig, Dandy Warhol's Brian Jonestown Massacre documentary. I met that dude. I don't remember where. I think it was a show I was playing, and like I didn't know who the fuck he was. I was like, Brian Jonestown Massacre. I was like, that's a long name.
Yeah.
And then later on, I found out about him. But like that dude was cool as hell. Like he was just like, oh, that guy's awesome. But he knew my friend Joel. And like we were, it was like friends of friends thing, but I didn't know who he was. I think he knew who I was. I didn't know who he was, but like there was
he's not walking around with like the sunglasses,
like a sign. Yeah, he looked like he just looked like a dude.
Yeah.
Also, at one point, I felt like there was like 50 people in that band, and the only thing I knew for them is like, oh yeah, their shows are really shambolic.
Well.
And then I listened to like, oh, let me listen to them, and like it didn't really make a huge impression on me. Honestly, none of the music makes a huge impression on me. Like I was like, it's a vibe band. It's a sound band. You know, I get it. If you don't listen to anything that isn't like the Rolling Stones or whatever, I get it. You know, but Joel, he was a good dude.
Someone thanks us for a fun-filled trip down memory lane. Dude, so I think the deal was we have to do 94 and then 82. Was that the deal? Am I saying it wrong?
Oh, right, because we were like, it's between those two, right? Yeah. I think was it 82? Yeah, I guess it was 82. I think so.
We're not ready to get back in. Is there any way we can get one of the Devo guys to join us for 82?
I can always ask. He's come on Moving Extravaganza like a couple times. So got to hear about Ravana watching 2001 on a cracked iPhone on the bus, which he thought was great. He was like, "That's hilarious."
I would love to hear what someone that was there has to say about the music world in 82. As we're talking about 94, I found this picture today because I shared the show with Bert, and he was going down memory lane about 94 for him because I think he was 6. So here's the picture of my first show, and that's me right there.
Oh, look at that. Oh, cute.
That. It was at our friend's birthday party in a place that no longer exists. And
looks so innocent. 82 was when Oh No, It's Devo came out, which is one of my favorite records by them that's completely underrated and usually forgotten about. And also the song Big Mess on the B-side of that record, I just recorded a cover of that on that record I did with Dead.
So, wow.
It's not finished yet, but like, yeah, they were like, they wanted to do it. And I guess Jace plays in a Devo cover band in Australia, which I had no idea, but I was like, sure, I know that song. Let's do it. It's the only cover. All the rest of them are new songs, but like, I was like, yeah, fucking A, let's do it.
I mean, 82 Thriller. We can spend the whole time talking about Thriller in 1999.
But that might be good. Jerry might be into doing 82 just because, like, yeah, like no one who wants to talk about Oh No, It's Devo. Nobody. If you want to talk about freedom of choice, or like it's not, like, great.
But I'm stoked for 80. There's also some good metal that comes out in 82.
We also got like Versus of Mission of Burma comes out in 82. There's a lot of fucking I remember it was not an easy choice. I was like, there's a lot of great songs.
So I think "Screaming for Vengeance" by Priest is 82.
Screaming for vengeance. Pornography, Cure, Nebraska.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like I said, it's 82 is going to be a great year. It's on the list. It's
Combat
on the
Rock
list.
by the Clash. Hex Education Over the Fall. Fuck yeah.
So 82 it is.
Killered. All right, 82. Cool.
At one point, Conan, we have to do this. I would love to do this with you in person. I think it would be funnier if me, you, and Tony did this in person.
Okay.
Maybe even Toshi if he's around.
Sure.
I'd love to get Buzz in on this if you could.
You'd probably do it.
Even, but I
don't know what it is. What is it? What do you?
Okay, listen. This is what I found,
right,
and I want to leave you guys with this. Tell me if you guys think this would be cool, and you want to see us do this in a live setting. When I say live setting, I mean all of us in the same room.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Let's do it at the Rainbow. Let's go to the fucking Rainbow in Hollywood and do
sure.
that.
Maybe we get a drink discount, not put down a bank loan to get a beer.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna do a live podcast here. Can you guys please not charge us $25 for a drink?
That place is wild expensive. I dig it, but yeah.
But I'm just saying for the atmosphere.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Do it at Slash's booth. But anyway, listen.
Right.
A lady friend of mine that came down here to visit, we went to this really cool pizza place that I think I'm going to once I'm done with this in TJ.
Mm-hmm.
And this pizza place is called Pizza and Records. Go check it out in TJ if you like wood-fired pizza. It's really fucking awesome. Anyway, they have records on the wall, and they have all these books. Some are in Spanish, some are in English, and they had this one book, 100 Greatest Albums of All Time.
Oh, sure. VH1. Okay. Sure. Okay.
Didn't know it existed. I thought it was going to go from 100 to 1, like you end at 1, but no, it starts at 1, ends at 100.
Okay.
And me and Homegirl are going through it. We're like, this is the worst fucking list. Yeah. Fuck these guys.
Fuck this record. Fuck this band.
Fuck this list. I would love to, but there's also good records on here that you're going to totally, this is a fucking good record. But it's like, I think the first record is the number 1 record of all time was Revolver by the Beatles, they say.
Of all time? That's not even my favorite Beatles record. I mean, I'm more of an Abbey Road guy, frankly.
That's what I'm saying. Revolver. So imagine all of us sitting down at a place like the Rainbow while they're playing, like, I don't know, Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden beat cuts. And we're sitting here going through this book, laughing our asses off.
Yeah.
At how ridiculous it is. If you can make that happen, I will bring the gear down so we could stream it.
Sure, probably. Yeah. I think if it's gonna be September, I think Buzz is still doing his acoustic tour with Trevor Dunn. I think Dale's on tour with Red Cross in Europe, maybe, but for some reason, I'm sure we can. I mean, look, I'm available.
I mean, if it's just me and
I'm sure Toshi would be down for that. I mean, Toshi's fascinating. He's got opinions about.
I would love to hear.
Some of it's like, what?
Yeah, I would love to hear what Toshi has to say about this list.
Like, it's not what you think, like he has some, like, it's like, all right, but he's like, he has his reasons, and some of it's like production stuff, but yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like blast. I mean, it sounds a lot like cross between this show and 1001 Album Complaints, but whatever. It's
yeah, we're better than them because we're funny. Yeah. And hey guys, we're actually diverse.
Somebody messaged me about that show one of the times I was on. It was a Mudhoney episode. It was like, I don't understand where these baffling squares come from.
Jesus.
That was like, God damn, dude, that's lighten them up. I listen every week, to be clear. That was not me. That was not my words, but I do disagree. Like I felt like I was the only one with any sanity on that Mudhoney episode. That's the only time I felt that way. Like, I turned around on Stooges and everybody's agreed Portishead was great. So like, no
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
but like,
I wish I would have been there on that episode.
Yeah,
I would have actually fought somebody.
But the Mudhoney record, yeah, like I was like, went down.
That's another band I was late on. I'm not gonna lie, I was late on Mudhoney. on Mudhoney. I never disliked them.
Yeah,
but to me, they were like peripherally in the background. And I sat there and I did a Conan thing because based off what Conan said, he was like, "Dude, because Conan just watches every music documentary regardless
do.
of genre.
I really like them. Yeah, I like the form.
And sometimes I do that, and I sat there and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a Conan thing and watch something about something I know nothing about. And I watched the Mudhoney documentary. I really dug it.
Yeah,
I forgot how good that music was, because again, even peripherally, I was like, oh, that's cool, but I never like. Everything's different now because you go, oh, that's cool, I'll put it on the playlist. Before it was like, oh, that's cool, I'm just not, I don't have the money to buy it.
Yeah, right, exactly. I like it, but I don't like enough to buy that CD, which is the only way I'll ever hear it.
Yeah. If you didn't have Columbia House, like for me, I'd look at the Columbia House
How
thing.
many
and I
young
would
people
just
got
put
sent to
circled
collections
stuff
because of Columbia House?
like, oh man, one day I'll have Cinderella's night songs.
Right, yeah. Oh, you can get it for 1 cent. You know, devil shows up and they're like, oh, 1 cent.
One day I'll have Rats Out of the Cellar.
Can I tell you, I think it's statute of limitations has passed. Was it BMG and BMG was the other one, right? Both of them. There was a guy that lived in our old Oakland house. We always got his mail. I used to get mad we got his mail. So I was like, fuck it. So I signed him up for Columbia House and BMG.
and so he has a collection that's still following him today.
Probably still following around to this day. But we got like I got a Shudder to Think CD, I got a Sonic Youth CD. This is right before I worked at the record store, because then it was like, okay, I get a discount.
And you know what I didn't know about those CDs?
Feel
And maybe
bad
you guys
about
know,
that.
they didn't have liner notes inside. They
Right.
were different. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of times they were blank. Look, I want to let you go because it's late where you are.
God damn, yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us for 3 hours and 21 minutes. Thank you guys so much for the fun Raisin episode we did earlier this week. We did actually get to where we were hoping. We didn't think we were going to be. So once again, we can stay on the air
Exactly.
and not go the way of the dodo. We will be back Tuesday. I forget what the show's about, but you're going to dig it. TIR will be back tomorrow with the Ben Burgess. Thank you, Conan. Where can people find you real quick?
Oh yeah, ProtonicReversal.com is my show. Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I just had the guys from the Red Scare, not the podcast, the hardcore band that are back. Deeply hilarious. Very funny show, if I do say so myself. I've got Deep Tunnel Project coming up. Steve Bartek of Ongo Bongo coming back. Dwayne Dennis and the Jesus Lizard coming up I think it's in August. There's a bunch of stuff coming up. I'm going to be talking about all that. I'm done touring and recording for a while, so it's going to be Podcast City. Moving Extravaganza, we're doing Lord of the Rings coming up. All 3 of them. We have Mike Moratsky of Steel Pole Bathtub coming on, who is the head of visual effects for those films, and I'm very excited about that. Yeah, it's he lived in New Zealand for
no
while
shit
doing that stuff. Yeah, so that's gonna be really interesting. And then we got another episode we're doing with Renee and KT. That's gonna be more of like a traditional episode. I think we're gonna do Kinds of Kindness coming in as well. We worked this out mostly last night, so I don't really remember. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com. Adult Prom still available. Buy our record. We're making new T-shirts. We're out of almost everything.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it means that they're selling. We got new T-shirts coming. We're gonna remake the Death is Coming, Eat Trash, Be Free T-shirts. And we're gonna make those hoodies as well. Anything else? Caterwaul Fest is the YouTube handle. If you're on YouTube, you should subscribe to Caterwaul Fest. Even though the festival is just called Caterwaul, we're putting up live sets of a lot of the bands. So Ganser just went up. We have a Part Chimp. We have Gas War, Brainiac, who was in the 1994 list, Bonsai Superstar. I just played with them. How did we not mention that one?
Yeah.
That shows what a daunting year this is, right?
I'm still shocked. I mean, this is the year Slick Rick comes out of prison and does his behind bars. Like, there's so much we didn't even get a chance to get to.
I feel like we almost could do a second episode or something.
Dude,
right?
This is the most songs we've had on a playlist so far at 150, and I haven't even touched all the bands yet.
It's absolutely nuts how much music
we don't even get to Brandy until like track 100.
Right, exactly.
TLC is not even in the top 25.
Yep.
So guys, check out the playlist. It's a work in progress.
Right.
I will be completing it while I ride the bus to Tijuana. I promise. It should be done today.
And then I'm just on, people proper. I'm on all the social media you would expect, and some that you aren't at Conan Neutron. Not TikTok though. Fuck TikTok.
We're too old for TikTok.
It's
I'm too fucking old.
I do a lot of stuff, but I ain't gonna do
I'm
that.
just too old.
I would do anything for clicks, but I won't do that. No.
When someone's like, "There's a new social media platform you need to," I go, "Shh."
Nope.
I like to go, "Shh." Put the
Say
finger
less.
on them. Shh.
Say less. I'm
I'm
over
too
it.
old. I'm too
Ain't-
old.
Hell no. Not even.
I
Hell
feel
no.
comfortable walking around a gym with my bing bong out. That's how old I am. I've hit that
Look
phase
at
in my
Flappy
life.
balls. Oh man.
Yep,
So
just
many
walking
Flappy
around.
ball Russians at the Oakland 24-hour fitness. And you're just like,
Right?
damn, I don't need to see that, man.
No towel. I just no
Just sitting
towel.
there,
That's
spanning
where I've
time.
gotten.
Just it's fucking like just what you just hanging out? You're just hanging out in the men's room? What the fuck?
Mhm. That's where I'm that old now. So there's a new ask
care.
Quinn. Now I go, you need to talk to Quinn.
I do like Blue Sky. Blue Sky's pretty good, especially for film stuff. But yeah, TikTok, nope. Not me.
Coach Look says Tubi Talk.
To be done.
I'm trying to get a sponsorship deal with Tubi Conan because it's my favorite streaming platform.
Yeah. They had to
So
give you a little
we've been throwing this around. Tubi, because if it's not Tubi, then it's not to be.
All right.
So we'll see if Tubi likes that. We'll see. Thank you guys. And I will play the correct music this time. We are out.
Back when Russia was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and they'd say, "Oh, but aren't you so glad that you're in America?" I said, "Well, I know a lot of Russian filmmakers, and they have a lot more freedom than I have. All they have to do is be careful about criticizing the government."